Good evening. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. I was going to do a little bit of hangout, but I'm like, man, I'm just not into either team, and I want to do a catch-up show. So it's just going to be a hangout, kind of go through all the stuff we missed over the week. And then that way, when we start back on Tuesday night, start fresh from whatever comes out Monday, and maybe with a little bit of stuff we didn't get into from this last week. A lot of stuff. What's up, Michael? I live east of there, man. Yeah, the East Crook's really, it's just crazy, man. I couldn't believe it. It was already crazy, and then when I start reading in the spill, I was watching one of the videos and they were talking about it, and in the background I'm sitting there looking up cleanup, and I'm reading it, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Why did we choose to do this? I would really like to know what all the options were, honestly. If that was the kind of conclusion they were going to come up with, I really would like to know what were all the options that you guys had out on the table, and then this is the one that you went with. I just don't understand it. It makes no sense at all. I just don't understand it. And I live in an area where I will get affected with, the Ohio River. I don't live that close to the incident, but I mean, hell, fish were already dying in the Ohio River the next day, showing up, dead fish all over. It's like, oh boy. I just don't understand. Somebody help me. All right, so let me be talking about a lot of crime stuff, but I first want to get into the three objects shut down in the last 3 days, 4 in the last 8. And this is a Fox News clip. It's a little lengthy, but I wanted to start off the show with this. It looks like it has a lot of information. I haven't watched it yet. It looks like it's going to have a lot of information, and I don't know. This shit's scary. One, now multiple, now reports of this shit happening all over the world for a long time. Has everybody been under surveillance this whole time? Did you guys see any? I got the video. There's a video up here. I'll go to it next. It shows green lasers being shot down from this thing down to the ground. We're going to check this one out first. So thank you everybody for hopping in. I know it's Super Bowl, but we can always watch the replay too. That's what's great about YouTube. You don't always have to be there live. You can get a lot of support from the replay too.
The U.S. military shoots down another object, this time over Lake Huron, making this the 4th shoot down in about 1 week. Joining us now is Lucas Tomlinson with the latest. Lucas.
Well, good afternoon. This is the 4th time in 8 days the U.S. military has shot down an object over North America, certainly unprecedented in the history of this country. We just learned some new details from Michigan Congressman Jack Bergman, of course, a retired Marine Corps 3-star general and former CH-46 pilot, which Joey knows all about, of course. He says this a U.S. Air Force F-16 fighter jet shot down a mysterious octagonal object over Lake Huron earlier today using a Sidewinder missile. That object flying at 20,000 feet. That's notable because that's much lower than those 2 objects shot.
Ah, damn, I'm sorry. I think they're trying. Yeah, it's just crazy, Michael, how they. I just don't understand how they got to the conclusion that they got to. What's up, Kevin Kraft? How you doing, man? How's your night? How's your week going? Yeah, this is crazy. First object February 4th, second object Friday, third object Saturday, today object over Lake Huron. And then this is just right here. This isn't all over the world. Who knows how many of these things are floating? And like I said, after this video, I have a video of another one that shows green lasers being shot down to the ground.
Huron earlier today using a Sidewinder missile, that object flying at 20,000 feet. That's notable because that's much lower than those two objects shot down over the past 2 days. This is now the third object shot down in the past 3 days, guys, starting on Friday when an object was shot down over the north coast of Alaska, as you see here on this chart, right on the northern coast of Alaska. That search for the debris has been hampered by rough weather. It's minus 20 degrees up there. It's very, very difficult. And then, of course, yesterday, another object was blasted out of the sky by a U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptor. It's notable that it was a U.S. Air Force jet shooting this thing down over the skies of Canada and Canadian airspace. That was on joint orders from President Biden and Canada's Prime Minister. And just as we know now, just moments ago, a U.S. Air Force F-16 fighter jet shooting down this object over Lake Huron. And of course, this came just hours after some airspace over Lake Michigan had been closed because they thought they detected something. But then NORAD and the FAA lifted that restriction. We don't know if that's because this object had passed through there. Obviously, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron are very close together with the state of Michigan in between. And as you see on the map there on the left side, radar anomaly, just hours after that shoot down of the object over Canadian airspace yesterday, the FAA closed some airspace down over Montana, right near the border with Canada, of course, near Malmstrom Air Force Base, home to some U.S. nuclear missile silos. F-15 Eagles were scrambled from Portland, Oregon. They went in, they didn't see anything, and the NORAD later put out a statement, guys, saying it was a radar anomaly, essentially saying this is a false alarm. However, Senator John Tester from Montana was on CBS this morning. He believes there was and is something up there. Now, Montana around this area is about 1,500 miles to Lake Michigan, Lake Huron. It's not immediately clear, was this the same object? You know, these flying objects have not been traveling very quickly. Of course, when you go back over a week ago, you had that gigantic 2,000-pound Chinese spying apparatus that was shot down off the coast of South Carolina, also by an F-22 Raptor, that one out of Langley Air Force Base. So just one more time, this is the fourth time in 8 days the U.S. military has shot down an object over the skies of North America.
Okay, and thank you, Lucas. And I can imagine folks at home are wondering.
Yeah, are wondering how many of these are flying all over the world. How long has this been going on? What is on these things? What can be on these things? Transparency, especially when it comes to this. This is all of our safety.
You know, first of all, we don't know where the other three are from, where their origins. Right. Correct. Okay, correct. But also you've got to wonder, you know, how can any of these be used to harm us in any way? Are these enemy states testing our perimeter and testing our response? I mean, these are a lot of questions that are coming up, I imagine, for Americans.
Right, Alicia. One thing that's very notable, it appears that these three objects that have been shot down over the last 3 days,
Yes, another one today. The first one came through Montana, was shot down right after it crossed Myrtle Beach. First one shot down February 4th. Second one shot down above Alaska. Third one shot down on Saturday, right over here, the Yukon. And then today, object shot down over Lake Huron. 4 in 8 days, 3 in the last 3.
were able to penetrate U.S. airspace. They were not detected until they were already
How many of
inside
these
this
are all
country.
over
That
the
is very
world?
concerning for military officials. Of course, we heard from NORAD's commanding general, General Van Herk, who called it essentially a blind spot. I think he called it a domain awareness gap, a little bit of Pentagonese there. But bottom line is it's a blind spot. But, not unlike the Super Bowl, most of us about to watch this evening, what do teams, what do countries, adversaries look for? They look for these blind spots. They look to exploit. And that is what appears to be happening. However, once again, just a word of caution. Top officials at the Pentagon, here at the White House, we heard from Canada's defense minister last night in Ottawa.
Well, either that, I think more waiting to see how we respond. So that way, when there's something else on that motherfucker, they're already going to know how we're going to respond. Think about it. When you're playing chess, how wonderful would it be to test out a move before you make your move? When you're playing chess, wouldn't that be amazing? Let me test out where my rook goes in relevance to where their pieces are, so then I can see how they react, so that way when I really do put my rook over there, I'll already know where what they're gonna do, so then I can make changes before the situation even takes place. What's up, Melmac? This is nuts. One took place. Then there was talks about how this has been happening for a long time, and there was talks about how this is not just over the U.S., this has been over the whole world. These things have been happening. And then all of a sudden, the last 3 days, we've had 3 more. I think we need to figure out another way. When it's happening, it's one thing for the first one. Yeah, let's shoot that thing down. It's another thing when this shit keeps happening, because who knows what's going to be attached to these things. And who knows, let's keep shooting it down over water, right? Who says there's not going to be some chemical agent that will affect that whole water supply wherever it lands? Like, we have to figure out a different way to get these things out of the sky, because this is happening way too much, and it really makes you wonder, the next one that comes around, what's gonna be on the damn thing, and what can it affect? Because this obviously just ain't an accident. One is an accident. Multiple? This shit's on purpose. That ain't no lie.
He said, would you the origin of any of these objects? The object shot down over Canada yesterday, the object just shot down over Lake Huron, and certainly that object shot down off the north coast of Alaska on Friday.
Lucas, what we don't know is driving the questions we have. Obviously, it's driving our curiosity, our imagination. Our minds are going everywhere, and hopefully we're going to get more information soon. One thing that I'm doing my own research and looking at a report or an update from Jennifer Griffin is basically the idea that we have universities that put balloons of observation. I want to say weather balloon, but even more than that, we have universities that do that, corporations that do that, local municipalities and their weather service that do that. Is the Pentagon doing anything to cross-reference these before they shoot them down? Are they looking into where they could be from a friendly place before they shoot them down? Is there any system in place that tracks those types of objects in the sky? One of the comments that Jennifer gave us was one of the senior Pentagon officials said, there's trash all in the sky.
Right, Joey. And of course, you remember your time in the Marine Corps. You know, you are very careful what you shoot at. You look at what the target is, what's also behind it. There's no question. This is why the Pentagon, NORAD are scrambling fighter jets to get a visual ID before opening fire. These aren't just shooting down, targets beyond visual range. It's why they're using these AIM-9 Sidewinders. That's a heat-seeking missile. You got to be in short range to use them, and that's why they're being studied for hours.
We need a different way to bring these things down.
Balloon that traveled across the United States on that week-long odyssey. Of course, they took a lot of time to observe it, but certainly these three objects, they all appear to be a little bit different, however. We heard from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, of course, a member of the Gang of Eight. He is privy to some of the nation's closest held secrets. He called the objects, certainly the one over Canada, shot down a balloon. U.S. officials have told Fox in the past 24 hours, the object shot down over Canada was this small metallic balloon, and it was tethered to a small payload. Friday, we heard from John Kirby at the podium here at the White House, who said the object was the size of a small car, certainly much smaller than what was called a giant 2,000-pound Chinese spy apparatus that was the size of 3 school buses. But back to your question, Joey, there's no question visual ID is happening. Of course, you have things like IFF, radar. From a weather balloon, you're not going to get IFF, of course. It's unmanned. They don't even file a flight plan. They might do a notice to airmen, launch those things. But officials tell me it'd be very difficult to think that the U.S. military is just blasting weather balloons out of the sky with $500,000 Sidewinder missiles.
I mean, that's absolutely fair. Right now,
we went over EMPs in the last show. That shit, that's what I thought from the beginning. As soon as, because I already heard shit about EMPs and their association a few years ago. And then all of a sudden, when this first balloon started crossing over, instantly thought EMP possibility. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's exactly. Wait till I after this video, I got another video that shows one of these balloons shooting green lasers down to the ground. Right? Exactly, Melmac. I heard that about NORAD. Yeah, this shit. As soon as that thing came across, I know it's not true crime, but it's something I brought up when it first happened in one of my shows, and I'm like, this shit, I thought EMP, I started looking up EMP's videos. It's like, yeah, they've already discussed how they have desires for that.
Don't know. They're telling me that we have pictures now. I believe this is the plane going over Lake Huron, the plane that responded to that balloon or that object.
Could be an airliner, let's be fair. I mean, that's really far away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is notable, that Congressman Jack Bergman is a former Marine Corps 3-star general. He flies CH-46s. Joe, you know about. They're probably taking a few rides back in your day on those C-Nights. He knows what he's talking about when he said it was a U.S. Air Force F-16. That's notable, of course. A lot of F-16s in the Air National Guard. Yesterday, you had F-15 Eagles scrambling from Portland to respond to that, what seemingly was a false alarm over Montana. However, you don't have to do a basic dead reckoning to know that, if something is traveling east and it was spotted over Montana last night, this could very well be that same object. We don't know. We do know that Senator John Tester this morning was pretty testy on CBS saying he thought an object was up there. He didn't buy the radar anomaly excuse from NORAD.
Lucas, we also have a tweet from Montana Congressman Matt Rosendale saying, I'm in constant communication with NORCOM, and they have just advised me that they have confidence there is an object and is not an anomaly. I'm waiting now to receive visual confirmation. Our nation's security is my priority. Obviously, you've got congressmen from this region that are sounding the alarm. Their constituents, I know because I'm from the Midwest, I'm from South Dakota, their constituents probably are not very used to this kind of activity happening over their airspace. So my question for you is this. Is it now? Because we saw this Chinese spy balloon last weekend was visible to the naked eye. Now we've got these other objects that may or may not be visible to the naked eye. What is the likelihood that there have been objects like this flying over our airspace, penetrating our airspace for a long time, and now the American government is just on high alert for these kind of objects?
None of us will ever know the true fucking answer to that. Number one, they're only going to tell us what they want. And we've already heard this shit's been going on for a while.
Well, I think there's no question, but a tweet by Congressman Rosedale, he was obviously very fired up and was not buying that statement from NORAD last night. They called this a radar anomaly.
Good point.
A false alarm. He was very convinced based on conversation.
That seems to happen, don't it?
That this was a real target, a real contact in the sky. And it appears, if it's the same contact that it now headed east, that he was correct. Back to what you're saying, Tommy, about spotting these on radar. I've been told we have sound from Senator Tester. Let's all have a listen.
The truth is that there was an anomaly, and they've investigated. I think it got dark last night, so they couldn't fully check it out. What's gone on the last, 2 weeks or so, 10 days, has been nothing short of craziness. And the military needs to have a plan to not only determine what's out there, but determine the dangers that go with it.
So Senator Tester was obviously a little fired up there, saying he was very convinced something in the sky. It's also notable, though, when he says it got dark out. I mean, that's just not how the U.S. military works. In fact, the U.S. military, it sometimes works best at night. Certainly, we're trying to get a visual ID. Of course, that's more challenging, but it's not like our pilots don't have nods and can't see at night. The U.S. military is an all-weather service, can see at any time. Bottom line is, once again, this is the fourth time in 8 days the U.S. military shot down an object over North America. Tommy, going back to your question about why these aren't being spotted, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking about a little analogy that it's almost like looking for emails in your inbox. If I told you to look for something in your inbox, just count it. You spend hours, maybe days, trying to find certain emails. But if you have a keyword search, it's easier to find those emails. I think very similar thing right now going with the radar picture. Right now, the Pentagon has collected a lot of data from these objects, from that giant Chinese spy craft. And they've gone back into the systems because, of course, all this radar data is stored, just like civilian satellite companies like Planet or Maxar. They keep all that stuff. They have to. The Pentagon's the same way, NORAD. So what they're doing is going back in time and seeing, do we think we ever heard or saw this? That's where it's coming from. That's why when they said this happened during the Trump administration, you heard from President Trump and all his top aides say, we don't remember this. That's because they didn't know. Many people in the Pentagon didn't know. And frankly, a lot of these discoveries were dismissed. Officials have come clean with that, saying they did not rise to the level. Some military pilots saying, look at those Tic Tac videos. Not TikTok, Tic Tac from USS Nimitz. Remember those UFOs that were seen buzzing around, the heads-up display from those Navy pilots. Remember, they're saying, this is going so fast. Whoa, can't believe it. There's a chance this is what could be a very similar craft. We, again, just don't know the origin over these last three objects. But just remember, U.S. spy satellite, it's for years. They're not looking for small, slow balloons. U.S. military spy satellites, IR birds in particular, they're looking for missile launches in North Korea. They're looking at aircraft troop movements in China, North Korea, Russia, of course, over Ukraine. That's what spy satellites are doing. They're looking at a lot of stationary objects or missile launches. And because they have that data in the systems, if it's like a large explosion, how much orange flame is there? That's how they identify. When these North Korean missiles go up within seconds, minutes, you're getting those statements out of the Pentagon. They even know what class it is. KN-23, KN-24. I don't want to get in the weeds of North Korean ballistic missiles here, but that's how they know, is it an ICBM? They see them rolling out of the closet, the storage, and all that. Anyway, I digress. Going on a little long here.
Lucas, quick question, quick answer. The administration's messaging to this point has been,
and you're exactly right, it's a distraction from something that just happened or something that's about to happen, because this shit's been going on a long time. Really, Kelt, do me a favor, if you can find an article or a video regarding that, please send it to me. I got that video next with them green lasers being shot out. It was over Hawaii.
reactive, defensive, and in assistance. The president is spending a rare weekend at the White House. He hosted that black tie event for America's governors. Can we expect to hear from him, or has the White House already called a lid on the day?
Kel, it needs to be out there.
Indicating that we will not be hearing from the commander-in-chief given this breaking news.
That's right, Joe. President Biden's right here behind me. He's in residence here at the White House, and he had, by all counts, a lovely dinner at the White House last night. Black tie affair. Everybody had their dinner jacket on, hosting the nation's governors. Obviously, not everyone attended. Governor Ron DeSantis, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders did not attend. There was a musical guest, country star Brad Paisley. Of course, all that was going down. The FAA was closing airspace over Montana, and those Eagles had scrambled from Portland, trying to figure out, was there another object over the skies of Montana? Of course, that was only hours after that object was shot down over Canadian airspace. It was very notable yesterday, though, Joe, a little digression here, but I think we have some time to fill, it was a Canadian defense minister taking the lead. Canada was taking the lead yesterday. It was very clear that the White House, the Pentagon, you weren't going to hear officials. We heard about a phone call between Biden's Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and his Canadian counterpart. Otherwise, the Canadians took the lead, although it was very notable. It was a U.S. Air Force fighter jet that shot down that object in Canadian airspace.
Lucas Tomlinson, thank you so much for breaking all this.
Yeah, that's a good video. Very informative. I knew it would be. And there's a lot of pictures you can pause and take screenshots of. Yeah, I'll check out my email here in a second. This is the next video I wanted to show. Chinese satellite lasers recorded over Hawaii. Check this shit out.
That's a very unusual sight captured on camera. Japanese and local astronomers say the Chinese satellite was recently seen beaming down green lasers over the islands. This video captured atop the Subaru telescope on Mauna Kea operated.
Does anybody have any pictures of these things? You guys can send me. evilcj@gmail.com, Discord at evilcj number 2540, or you can follow me on Twitter and send them to my Twitter message, please. Appreciate it.
By the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan. Bryce Moore has the story.
The lasers flash for just a couple seconds. Initially thought to be from a NASA altimeter satellite, the Japanese put out a correction note on Monday saying NASA scientists found a most likely candidate as the ACDL instrument by the Chinese Daki-1 AEMS satellite. I went to a University of Hawaii astronomer who read up on AEMS instruments.
It's a Chinese satellite that is measuring pollutants, among other things. It has many different instruments on it, some kind of topographical mapping, or they're also used for measuring stuff in the Earth's atmosphere. And I think that's what it is, to environmental measurement satellite.
I also sat down with the former chief of staff of Marine Forces Pacific. He had some questions.
I'm not sure, this is my opinion, why the Chinese, who are probably some of the most prolific polluter on the planet, would be collecting data on pollutants on this side of the Pacific.
Both experts say this isn't explicitly a spy satellite. It is cataloged and known by governments around the world.
The U.S. has satellites that do the same thing. So in this case, despite all of the flurry, well-deserved flurry about Chinese spy satellites and other devices, this one is just orbiting Earth and has a known orbit.
The footage was taken January 28th, before the recent incident where a Chinese balloon traversed over the mainland U.S. before being shot down off the coast of South Carolina. Which brings the question, how much is the Chinese military seeing?
They can shut down any communication nodes that they want if they believe that, I think, the public is getting too much information. So yeah, I think it's more probably military than anything else. That's makes sense.
I had to ask,
is this a risk to locals, to Hawaii?
Of course
no, it's not a risk to Hawaii or any place else. We have aircraft making these kind of measurements all the time. If you see topographical maps with high precision, those are made using sometimes this kind of thing.
It seems to me that
they still have the
tensions
technology.
are there. People are a little antsy, and I think we just need to be a little bit more aware, vigilant.
I reached out to the United States Space Force to see how often Chinese satellites scan Hawaii airspace and if there's been an explanation from China. Officials are working on getting me a response, and we'll bring that to you as soon as we hear back. Bryce Moore, Ep.102 News, working for Hawaii.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. Now here's another video I'm going to share. This is China zeroes in on near space as potential next battlefield in modern warfare. This is a video from CNN. All right, Kel, I will get those ones up next. Are they articles and videos? Nice, thank you.
The incident today, though, comes as the Chinese try to beat the U.S. in a new battlefield called near space. This is the area within 60 miles above the Earth's surface, and China wants to nominate it. And as we've seen from the spy balloon, maybe they are. Will Ripley is out front.
China's new superpower battlefield, 12 to 60 miles above the Earth, too low for satellites, too high for most jets. The stratosphere, or as China calls it, near space. In 2018, the Chinese military's official newspaper said near space has become a new battlefield in modern warfare.
Felix has landed safely back to Earth.
More than a decade ago, Felix Baumgartner's free fall jump from near space captivated the world and may have caught the attention of Chinese President Xi Jinping. As early as 2014, he ordered China's Air Force to speed up air and space integration and sharpen their offensive and defensive capabilities. He prioritized development of hypersonic weapons, solar-powered drones, and high-altitude balloons, all designed for near-space flight in the stratosphere's thin air.
Look at this.
Not alone, the U.S. and others are jumping into the near-space
Whoa,
race.
Kel.
Back in 2012,
Isn't that fucking crazy to think about? Isn't that crazy to think about? Holy crap. Great imagination, great points. Thank you. Death Star. Wow, Kel, great point.
CNN camera captured the view from 100,000 feet on a high-altitude weather balloon. China's suspected spy balloon, which the Pentagon claims was carrying high-resolution cameras and electronic monitoring equipment, could have captured crystal-clear images of highly sensitive areas and monitored military communications, in some ways outperforming China's advanced spy satellites.
When you have something that's up at 70,000, 100,000 feet, you can see the horizon over 300 miles away, which is something you really can't do from an aircraft. Now, you can do that from a satellite, but a satellite is pretty expensive to get up there. It takes a little bit of planning to launch it, and then you can't exactly change what it does or fix it once it's there.
Navy divers are combing the waters off the Carolina coast so the FBI can piece together the debris of what China calls a civilian weather balloon. Unlike these weather balloons launched by hand from Cape Canaveral, Florida, the Chinese balloon was massive, some 200 feet tall, with a 90-foot, possibly solar-powered payload, the size of 3 city buses. A source familiar with congressional briefings on the balloon said some components had English writing. It's not clear if they were made in America or another Western country. And there is a growing list of countries that are jumping into this near space race, Aaron. China and the United States, of course, also Russia, the United Kingdom, Japan, Israel, South Korea. The list goes on.
I know, isn't that funny? That everybody was like making fun of him about it. But when you think about all of it, just look up how many satellites orbit the fucking Earth. It's amazing that we can even like send objects through to outer space with all the damn satellites that are up there. So you had when he thought about that, I'm just like, you know what? That's probably some real shit. Because of all the satellites we have up there, people are, I mean, it's space. It's another space that can be occupied. It's another space that is occupied with all the satellites. Of course, there's going to be. Oh my gosh.
And this is going to
That's
pose
funny.
incredibly new challenges to the security of the United States and all countries around the world, because not only are these cheaper than satellites, but they're more maneuverable, easier to operate, and as we've seen, much harder to detect.
It's amazing. All right. Thank you very much, Will Ripley. And I want to go now to retired Air Force Lieutenant General Charlie Tuna Moore. He was also the former vice director for operations for NORAD, which, of course, was central in the taking down of that object today, General
This
Moore.
was the
So the
second
Pentagon
one
says
that
that
was
object is
taken
about the
down
size of a small car.
over
At
Alaska.
40,000 feet, they say it was a possible threat to civilian aircraft.
That was Friday.
I understand that that's smaller than the balloon, which was 3 buses. But to the average person watching, something flying around that's the size of a small car is nothing to sneer at. What do you think it is?
Well, that's a great question, Aaron. At this point, we still don't know. But I would anticipate in the coming hours or days, as we recover the pieces of the wreckage, we're going to have a really good idea of exactly where it originated, who belonged to, and what it was up to.
Now, you know, obviously, you know so much about this sort of near space thing, maybe the donut hole. We focus on Earth, we focus on space, and that space in between. Certainly, China's put a lot of effort in there, as we now are very well aware of. Do you think that this object likely came from China too?
Well, we simply don't know. I mean, we'd have to speculate. I think the key point to remember, though, based on the reporting that we just had, is don't think about this as single balloons or single events. We need to think about this as part of a broader enterprise that China's developed from an intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance perspective. They're putting things in space. They obviously have airborne aircraft, manned and unmanned. They could fly off the coast and stay outside the 12-mile limit. They have cyberspace forces to conduct those types of missions. And now, of course, they're exploiting the near space.
And we know the spy balloons are part of an extensive Chinese surveillance program, as you point out, right? So, you know, all these reports about all these objects of UFOs, you know, some people were sort of scoffing when others said, oh, it's got to be China. Well, now it appears that plenty of those quote unquote UFOs were Chinese surveillance equipment. Are you worried at this point, and you know more than anybody about what's happening, you know, given the roles that you've had and your role in intelligence and NORAD, are you worried about how much we don't know about what the Chinese are doing in terms of spying on the U.S. right now?
I'm not worried. We have the best intelligence organizations in the world, and they do a very good job of keeping us abreast of what's going on in areas like this so that we can stay ahead of the curve. I think we just got a little bit surprised in this particular incident, talking about the spy balloon, that it showed up over the United States as quickly as it did.
What's the score,
Well,
Kid
General Moore, I
Kitty?
appreciate your time. Thank you.
What's the score, Kid Kitty? All right, I'm going to switch to an article that Kelt sent me here. Oh, Tastefuls. Oh my gosh, this thing is still playing. 1 second, sorry. YouTube's being buggy. Come on, YouTube. Thank you. Yeah, let's get rid of the cat. Ooh, Eagles 21, Chiefs 14. Wow. Yeah, look at this. In 1945, a Japanese balloon bomb killed 6 Americans, 5 of them children, in Oregon. Now, I can't play this video, but what I can do is show a picture real quick of the video. Locations of recovered balloons. Look at this in Alaska. Look at all these balloons in Canada. Look at all these balloons recovered. And this is from Japan in 1945. These are all balloons from Japan recovered in 1945 that had bombs on them. Locations of recovered balloon bombs. I just wanted to show that real quick. Thank you, Kelt. That does exist. And it definitely needed to be brought up. All right, let me see what we got next here. Thank you for the score update, Kid Kitty. I don't know. I'm not really into either of the teams this year, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna get caught up on this crime stuff. So thanks for hopping in and giving the support, even though you're checking out the Super Bowl. I just need to get caught up. I don't know if you guys remember, came out with a warning 07 and artifact is going to be perhaps to scare us. Interesting. And in this, in 1940s wartime, people still find bombs. That's crazy stuff. Thank you for those links, Coat. Are you on Discord, Coat? If you are, you should add me. You don't need to watch the videos. Oh yeah, no, I went and showed that screen. I thought it was interesting that had all of those balloon recovers. I can't play the video, but I could definitely show a little screenshot. All right, we're gonna go into some of this other stuff here. These are not the only events on airborne incidents. This is from News Nation 22 hours ago. And then we'll switch topics. I think an hour is enough on this topic. I think we covered a lot of it pretty good.
For more, we are joined by retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony
Thank you,
Schaefer,
everybody.
president of the London Center for Policy Research. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much for being here.
Good to be here. Thank you.
So 3 objects flying into American airspace in the past week, each taken down by fighter jets. It is not known, of course, what exactly the 2 most recent objects were. What is on your mind tonight, and what should the U.S. and now Canadian governments be looking for?
Yeah, I think we have to be on alert because these things are apparently, from my sources, the Pentagon, are drones. They're very small. They're hard to detect. You only see them when they're up high, 40,000 feet or so. And my sources are telling me these are not the only events. These are the ones we know about because they shot things down. There's been similar events down near the Mexican border that did not require an aviation air response by the fact they did enough to get into U.S. airspace, and also near Hawaii, where there's been similar observations. But again, because these things were in international waters, there was no direct or aggressive response. So I think there's a pattern here developing. So as you mentioned, there's been 3 downings within the past week. I know for a fact there's more sightings than the Pentagon's admitted to. I think this is a pattern that comes directly out of China. We don't know if it's China. My belief is this is China, simply following up its aggressive use of penetrating airspace that started last week.
And last hour, we spoke with Jamil Jaffer from the National Security Institute about the thought process before shooting these things down. Let's take a listen quickly.
Sure.
While you do want to find out what they're doing and where they're going, you also want to ensure that these things aren't carrying some sort of a device or conducting some sort of intelligence collection activity that's problematic. And so, taking the shot, probably the right thing to do.
And at another point in the interview, he was also speaking about the risk of potentially an explosive device even being in one of these objects. Even though the Yukon is sparsely populated, if there was any concern that there could be explosives in that object, is it the right move to shoot it down in the air?
It is, and obviously some of this is dependent on altitude. One of the reasons they've used to take these things down, rightly so, I believe, is the potential interference with commercial airspace. I mean, while Canada and Alaska don't have a lot of aircraft, we do have aircraft flying around up there, and yeah, these things could potentially be in those air lanes that could cause hazards. So yeah, once you've identified it, I would hazard to say we're going to see some reconnaissance actual photos of these things from the engagements coming out soon. These aircraft we're sending are very sophisticated. They have what we call gun cameras on them, so we'll see what they saw. And I think that's what's going on right now. There's a careful review of all the gun camera footage of all these other events I alluded to and trying to figure out who's behind it and what these things actually are. Again, I think these are small aperture drones that are being used or remotely piloted.
Okay, I appreciate that. Do you believe we're in any danger of communicating a precedent with China that we will shoot down these objects without confirming what may be inside? Is there any concern in your mind about that?
This has been the policy since
There
the beginning of the
should be,
Cold
because
War,
that's what
especially
I
in
was
our North
thinking.
American airspace. That's why we have NORAD. NORAD is
Come
part
on.
of the Northern Command. NORAD is a joint command between us and the Canadians and was created during the concern of Russian Soviet bombers coming over the ice cap. So this has been the policy to basically identify and then down any aircraft that could not be figured out what its purpose is and where it's going. So this is a long-standing policy, has not changed since the Cold War. So yes, I do believe it's something that should deter China eventually, but I do believe that this is something we should maintain as a policy at this point in time.
And you've said there is reasonable suspicion that these may have originated in China, even these latest two.
Absolutely.
The administration respond if it turns out that 1 or 2 of these other objects did in fact originate in China?
Well, I would argue slow response to the balloon is what prompted this. Despite what the Pentagon says, there were methods available to bring that balloon down using airborne lasers, where you basically puncture the balloon, you bring it down in a controlled rate into an area which would not have required a catastrophic explosion of the device. So that opportunity was missed. I don't want to get into why that was missed, but it was. But I think the Chinese saw that as weakness, and I think at this point the Chinese now are saying, well, let's see what else we can do to get under their skin. I don't think there's any intelligence value to any of this. I think it's just a Cold War tactic that even the Russians did during the Cold War to test our defenses. I think the Chinese are trying to see what our resolve is at this point.
If that is the case, how should our administration respond?
As they are. Look, I know Lloyd Austin. I worked for him in combat. He was a brigadier general back then. And I know Mark Milley. While I have some differences about the way they approach certain elements of how they manage DOD, this is something I do believe they've made the correct recommendations to President Biden on regarding maintaining a very strong and aggressive defense of our airspace. And that's something we cannot show weakness on. And I think they need to do that and continue it.
Okay, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer, really appreciate the context. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Go to News Nation.
And thank you for letting me know that the video is over. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. 3 likes. Ooh, Burr, it's cold. All right, now we're going to go through some other stuff. I just wanted to go through those real quick because, not real quick, actually. We spent an hour, but man, that's some crazy stuff. Definitely scary to think about, especially with all the other stuff going on in the world. All right. So now I'm going to kind of take a look at the videos that I saved over the last few days. Got a ton. So I'm just going to we might be jumping around from topic to topic. Just going to kind of do a catch up. If anybody would like to hop up on panel, you're more than welcome. Just let me know and I'll throw a link out there. So I'm just going to kind of go over and look at stuff and see what I can find. Let me see. LinkedIn account. No. I'm not really interested in that. 30-minute video, maybe later. Let me see. We got these. We watched this already. Bluetooth speaker. I don't know. I guess we could check it out real quick. I don't know. Do you think it has much relevance? Damn, Kelton.
Another source close to News Nation
But you're
revealed
right.
that the victim, Kaylee
That's true.
Gonsalves, actually had a Bluetooth speaker in her bedroom during the killings. Could that speaker or other Bluetooth devices like it be used in any way for clues, even if they weren't connected?
So I would think the best thing that they're going to use that Bluetooth speaker for, and my former colleague and friend actually did a great interview really breaking this all down on Banfield, Clark Walton, and he does a great job really discussing the intricacies of it. But just in what it could do is if Koberger's phone tried to connect with that Bluetooth device, that's what all of our phones do. They're to whatever devices that are, whether they're in the Elantra, whether it's in her home, and that would go towards placing Koberger physically or his cell phone at the scene of the crime, which really gives more credence to his DNA being there, him potentially being spotted
well,
with the bushy eyebrows. That really speaks to the totality of evidence because now you have 3 things that physically put him there.
Okay, Tracy Wilder, always appreciate your time. Thank you much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
I hit back. Now it's going to go back again. Watch. It's going to boot me out, aren't you? Oh, it took me to the top, though. Oh, it did boot me back. Gosh, dang. Frickin' YouTube. Your YouTube. Your YouTube. Oh yeah, Kid Kitty did say it was, what was it again? Halftime 27-17. Thank you, Kel. 2717. Yeah, let us know how it goes with the concert. Give me, anybody that's watching the concert, give me your opinion on it. I'm not going to be watching it. Yeah, I don't know if that Bluetooth is really, let's see, Prime Minister of Canada talk. We already watched that. Talks about recent balloon sightings. Oh, this is her again. That was on News Nation. She's talking about the recent news sighting or balloon sightings. Why not? I do like her opinion. 1424, 2414. Thank you. Boom, boom, boom. The Chiefs and the Eagles. I was gonna.
We know a lot of you are asking, what is going on? Well, to try to gain some perspective tonight, we
I was gonna hang out and chat sports and stuff, but I was like, I have so much that I didn't go over this last week, so I'm just gonna do a hangout show.
To a Dallas
Go
woman
over
who
everything that I haven't gone through the last week. That way, it's not crazy night on Tuesday. It's a catch up over the last few days or whatever.
worked as a CIA officer and in Chinese counterintelligence for the FBI. Tracy Walter told me tonight countries spying on each
There, as far as I know, Melmac, there have not been any more updates on the Ohio spill disaster, but if anybody does have any, if you could send them to me, please, I'd appreciate it. But anything that I've gone over that I subscribe to, local news, I just don't. Nothing as of, even national news, nothing as of yesterday or the day before. So I don't think so. But if anybody does, please shoot me a Discord, email, or Twitter.
each other is nothing new. It's happened for generations and it will continue. But she admits this does feel different.
I'm concerned because this seems like a ramping up, right, of
Yeah, it is.
activity.
Look at that.
I'm not
Oh my
concerned
gosh,
necessarily
YouTube.
from,
All right, we're going to deal with it tonight.
Perspective, which is what I think
We're going to
people are
deal with this
thinking
shit
about.
tonight.
Starting to wonder if these are some sort of
This is
provocation
crazy.
ops, not in a way that's going to be
It makes you wonder if these things flying over is doing this crap, because StreamYard, YouTube, major platforms have been having issues the last month and a half. And look at this crap. When does this ever happen? And this is like, what, 4 days now, everybody? 5 days now this happens?
physically harmful to our country, but in a way
Ridiculous.
that's sort of testing our response and seeing what we're going to do. But again, I'm
This is
really just
crazy.
hypothesizing.
We're dealing with it tonight, though. There we go. Thank
Clearly,
you.
this is
Oh, when
rapidly
the interview's
developing, so we will
over.
keep following this
Cool.
story all night. Stay with WFAA for the latest developments.
Yeah, when the interview's over. I even checked the breaking news, and there's nothing up there. Let's see. Ooh, Elliot Blair. Now, I do have another Elliot Blair video up there. But we're just going to kind of go from the bottom and go up, and whatever sticks out. This is interesting as well. There's another video up there. I think his wife talks to somebody in an interview.
Tearful goodbyes at the funeral for Elliot
Oh,
Blair,
thank you,
the Orange
YouTube.
County public defender who died under suspicious circumstances in Mexico.
We're dealing with it,
Welcome
though.
back to Eyewitness News at 4. I'm Jory Rand. Michelle is off today.
Ooh,
While
thank
authorities
you.
in Mexico insist Blair's death was an accident, a family attorney says all evidence points to murder. Today, loved ones took time to remember Blair and how he touched their lives. Eyewitness News reporter Amy Powell joins us live now with more on the celebration of life.
This is
held
crazy.
at Christ
Back
Cathedral.
and forth.
Amy?
New effects. Yeah.
Jory, Elliot Blair's
We're
wife
just
and
gonna
other
do this
family members
tonight
and
if
friends
it's gonna
gathering
keep
for a
happening.
memorial this afternoon.
We're
Now,
just gonna do
Mexican
that.
authorities, as you mentioned, say he died
It don't need to be that big if it's gonna be
accidentally
some
while on
bullshit.
vacation in Mexico, but Blair's wife and her attorney believe he was the victim of a crime.
What the fuck is this, man?
Heartbroken family members, friends, and co-workers gathering at a Garden Grove church this afternoon for a service celebrating the life
This
of
is
Elliot
YouTube.
Blair. Blair, a 33-year-old Orange County public defender, and his wife, Kimberly Williams, also a public defender, traveled to a Mexican resort last month to celebrate the first anniversary of their wedding. After an evening
I'll
out,
go
they
to Google
returned to their
Maps
resort
next.
on the shores of
I'll show you where it's at.
Beasley says she went to bed later by a hotel manager and a security guard. When she ran out, she saw her husband's body on the ground. Authorities say it appeared he had fallen off a balcony. Loved ones who spoke during today's gathering, remembering Blair for his dedication to public service and his passion for helping young people.
He had such an amazing zest for life, and I was able to see firsthand how incredibly in love Kim and Elliot were with each other. I'm really going to miss not being able to go on trips with him in the future.
His loss is devastating to our families, and I don't think that we will ever feel whole again or be repaired.
This is crazy.
But I just want everyone here
I'm glad we have
to
audio.
remember and to honor
The videos, whatever.
what an amazing human being he was.
Yep, East Palestine.
Again, the family
showing
has a
that
lot
here
of
on
questions.
Google Maps
An
in a
attorney
second.
representing Blair's wife says an autopsy showed injuries on his body that they believe indicate he was attacked. As
Right.
we come back out here once again, hundreds attending that memorial for Elliot Blair.
And the last show we went over Elliot Blair, we did see some of the injuries, and it's not consistent with what they're saying. It just reeks of the Shanquella Robinson case. But see, the couple actually got shook down by the Mexican police shortly before that. They were pulled over and accused of rolling through a stop sign, and they were shaken down for all the cash that they had on them, which was $160. And then they were let go. And so that was earlier in the evening. And then when the wife was notified of her husband's passing, she was woken up out of her sleep. She didn't even know that he wasn't there. So it just makes you wonder what something just don't add up. And isn't it funny how every single freaking case in one of those resort destination vacation hotspots, there's always a considerable amount of alcohol involved. I think she is maybe Mexico's beautiful country, but not not right now. Not right now. Okay, this is East Palestine, Ohio. The population is 4,761 as of the 2020 census. It is right on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. Okay. And the Ohio River is right here. And in the last show, hell, you can even see in the newest highlight I put up, there's actually dead fish. The next day, there was dead fish popping up all over this river. So if that effect went from here to here, right, because of burning smoke, you're talking minimum, right? You're talking minimum of a humongous freaking circle. Look at all that. Youngstown, Salem, Columbiana, East Liverpool, Beaver Falls, Elwood City, Newcastle. Those are just the bigger ones. You zoom in, you got Rogers. You got all of these little communities. Look at this. If this is where the dead fish are showing up, right here, from here to here, all over here, not to mention downstream, 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 upstream, overstream, through Nashville, Cincinnati, Kentucky, Louisville. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. So yeah, East Palestine right on the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio, right there. That's where the train spill took place. I have not heard any updates. If anybody does have any, please let me know. All right, so we're gonna go to the next video. Yeah, it's ridiculous, Coat. That's why that highlight video that shit needs to be shared, because when we start off by reading the cleanup. During the live show, we were watching one of the videos, and I looked up the cleanup, and as I'm looking up and reading through the cleanup while we're watching the live video, I'm like, what the fuck? As I'm watching the video of the shit burn, and I'm reading the cleanup of it before I even read it on the show. I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Sorry for my F words. All right, I thought this was another video that was interesting that I came across this weekend. These newscasters you may have seen online are not real people. Ooh, you know what? I'll wait until Kelt hops on. I'll save that for when the Kelt hops on. All right, public defenders and conflicts of interest attorney analysis. That's a 22-minute video. Let's go. Prepare for the worst. Yeah, we already know. All right, I'm going to scroll up here. 2 men seen acting suspiciously day before disappearance. Crime scene to courtroom. Huh. I want to hear what they have to say about this. I have not heard anything about this. This is about the Nicola Bulley case. I think Rihanna... Hold on one second. Reporters sent you a Twitter. Reporters are being arrested now. Is that about the News Nation? Let me check here one second. Ooh, I got to get to Valerie's link. Valerie sent me a link too about Idaho 4. Oh, wow. One second. Thank you, Mamek. I appreciate that. Who is this? Lisa Man Music. I'm going to go ahead and follow her. MSC. Reporters trying to cover the Ohio train derailment are getting arrested. Maybe that's why I haven't heard about it on MSNBC, CNN Newsroom. Oh, yeah, this is about the News Nation guy. Yeah, we covered this guy a few days ago. Actually, I think we were live when it actually took place. Yeah, because it was the first when it came across the thing. I'm like, I gotta talk about this. We talked about it from the very get-go. And then I believe he got arrested right after we were live, I think. Something like that. I can't remember. I know that shit just happened, yeah. That's why I felt I had to make that. It was the day after, but it just to make that highlight, it took me like a couple hours just to splice it all together just for a little 17-minute clip. It does take a while to make, but I've had a lot of sinus issues the last 4 or 5 days, and I mean big time. And Saturday morning I was like, okay, I can finally start working on this thing. Because it needs to be talked about. This shit's crazy. This shit is crazy. All right. This is a link from Valerie. Thank you, Valerie. Another Twitter link. Thank you. Idaho murders. Brian Koberger's arrest resurrects cold cases in region. Now, there are some videos as we'll scroll up and we'll get through the evening. There are some videos that talk about the local PA authorities starting to look into cold cases, starting to look into, other cases that have gone on in the past just to see if there's any kind of relevance, and such. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. Thank you, Valerie, for the link. I appreciate your help. Let me see here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play, and then we'll see what's next. Thank you everybody for hanging out. Thank you, Kid Kitty, for the
Everybody's going
thumbs.
to the Seattle RV Show, February 16th through 19th at Lumenfield Event Center. All the new models.
And if you're on Discord, please, I'm gonna go ahead and mute this. If you're on Discord, please add me on there as a friend. It's the best way for me to get links because I actually get a little ding in my ear when I get a Discord.
Four murdered University of Idaho students. A Washington judge unsealed the search warrant for the suspect, Brian Kohberger. These critical documents reveal what investigators hoped to find in his apartment and his office. So the 13 News, I'm David Rose.
And I'm Hannah Kim. Fox 13 News reporter AJ Janival is live tonight in the newsroom. So AJ, what does the document say law enforcement found?
Hannah, for the last few weeks, we've had the affidavit that talked about the specifics of this case. Now, with these new documents, it shows so much within the documents. Investigators saying they found several hair samples, including one of an black glove and several dark red or brown stains. But documents also say what the investigators did not find.
Fox 13 News cameras captured video of investigators going in and out of Kohberger's Pullman apartment last month. From the search warrant, we now know what investigators hope to find, including a possible murder weapon, the victim's clothes matching the description of the killer. They also looked for shoes, the diamond pattern sole that would match a footprint. Investigators.
Oh.
But we did learn what is inside these bags taken from Kohberger's home. That evidence includes a black disposable glove, multiple suspect hair strands, including an animal hair
All right,
strand.
we knew this.
Notable because it does not seem Kohberger had a pet. And the red spot in the apartment.
Oh my gosh, this thing is buggy as a
for test brown
motherfucker.
stains and multiple mattress covers with stains. An unnamed source also told People magazine that Kohberger sent one of the victims several direct messages on Instagram, including, "Hey, how are you?" allegedly. According to the documents, investigators believe these murders appear to have been planned rather than a crime that happened in a moment of conflict.
Ooh, I
The
like
warrants
that
allege
closed
Kohberger
captioning. Look at
studied
that.
other murders and how to avoid as part of his preparations.
Oh my gosh, this is buggy.
Kohberger has said he believes the evidence in this case will exonerate him, but we will not begin a statement on this warrant.
Whoa. All right. Thank you. All right, let me, we're going to go back to this crime scene to courtroom video. Here's crime scene to courtroom. And let me put the link up on the screen there. If you'd like to subscribe to them, just scroll up a little bit. Where did I put it? There it is. There's just a few messages up there. All right. Okay, Nicola Bully. Two men seen acting suspiciously day before disappearance. I definitely want to hear about this. This case is another one. It's across the pond. But very suspicious. It just doesn't make sense. And even though it's across the pond, I feel we should talk about it.
As the search for the missing mother of two, Nicola Bully, continues, fresh information has been handed to police concerning two individuals who were seen acting suspiciously the day before her disappearance. In this video, I'll be taking a look at these eyewitness accounts and sharing my own views on where we stand currently with the investigation. Two suspicious men spotted by witness near missing Nicola Bully's dog walking route as police are handed new CCTV. A witness told police he spotted two men acting suspiciously close to Nicola Bully's dog walk route the day before she disappeared. It came as
For
police
sure,
took
Kid Kitty.
CCTV footage from a garage in St Michael's on
For
Wire
sure.
24 hours before the last sighting of the mum. A witness came forward after spotting the pair outside the local church. Significantly, the same person told police he saw one of the men in the vicinity of her usual route on the morning she vanished. Police have also been handed new CCTV footage from a garage covering the 24 hours before Nicola was last seen. The mum of two, 45, went missing while walking her dog Willow more than 2 weeks ago in St Michael's on Wire. Detectives visited St Michael's garage last Thursday, requesting
That's crazy,
CCTV footage from
That's
the
crazy.
day before she vanished. They had already taken images from the day of her disappearance. A garage worker who asked not to be named said, quote, "Two smartly dressed officers, a man and a woman, came in to follow up. They wanted the CCTV from the day before Nicola vanished and to take statements of any activity we had seen from that day. These officers were different to the ones in uniform. They seemed to be very assertive." The employee said of the church sighting, quote, "I know who the witness is and he has already called the police about what he saw. But he said he wanted to make sure they were chasing this up, so I asked the officers about it and they said they were following it up." The worker said the witness, who does not want to go public with his account, described seeing the men acting suspiciously close to the church and around a nearby bridge on January the 26th. He told how the witness said he saw one of them the next day near the bridge, which is at the start of the footpath which Nicola used almost daily. The worker added, quote, "He saw what he saw and wanted to make sure the police followed it up. Whether them collecting the CCTV from the same day is connected, I don't know." Lancashire police had already trawled the area for camera footage and dashcam video from January the 27th, the day Nicola vanished. But as the hunt for Nicola now enters the 17th day, officers
17th
are
day.
widening the search as part of their ongoing inquiries. The CCTV system at St Michael's garage, which is on the main road running through the village, covers one of the key exit points from the fields when Nicola went missing. The garage worker confirmed the security cameras are in working order and picked up vehicles travelling along the main road. One camera also covers the top of a country lane close to where Nicola was last seen. The church where the two men were seen is very close to the footpath Nicola regularly used, which hugs the River Wire. The move for additional footage suggests police are becoming more open to the possibility that a mortgage advisor was snatched rather than their main working hypothesis that she fell into the River Wire in a tragic
17
accident.
days later.
It comes after Nicola's distraught partner, Paul Ansell, 44, revealed his own fears that a local is keeping secret about what's happened to her. He said he is, quote, 100% convinced that his partner of 12 years did not fall into the river. Yesterday, a police helicopter was spotted landing several times upstream near Garstang, while search teams were seen checking the river closer to the Irish Sea. On Friday, distraught Paul told 5 News in a revealing TV interview that he believes Nicola's mobile was left behind as a decoy. He claimed a local is harbouring a dark secret and called for searches to be stepped up each.
You know, this is, as soon as this case came up, this is stuff we said. Like, it was a decoy. None of it just made sense. None of it. And how they were so quick to conclude that she was in the river and, you know, didn't, you know, tape off the rest of the sea, you know, in a larger area, and they just let all that get contaminated. It just made no sense. It was like how Moscow PD came out and said it was an unalive self-unalive. It's just crazy.
Paul said, quote, "You
How do
cannot
they get
walk
to
your
these
dog down a river
conclusions?
and just vanish into thin air. Something happened that day." Okay, so what are my own thoughts on this recent development concerning the case of missing Nicola Bulley? The first thing I want to draw your attention to is, again, a bit of poor reporting here in this particular newspaper, where it states the following. The CCTV system at St Michael's garage, which is on the main road running through the village, covers one of the key exit points from the fields where Nicola went missing.
Ooh.
Now, having read that and realizing it's just up the road from the bridge over the River Wire, I assumed, okay, maybe this garage has a view down to the footpath, down to the towpath, where Nicola would start and end her walks.
Interesting.
But let me just say this categorically. There is no camera at that garage that covers her entry and exit points. I need to make that absolutely clear to you at home. There is no camera from that garage that covers her entry and exit on that walk. Now, I covered this area extensively in a video that I released yesterday, which is titled Nicola Bulley, My Theory on Her Disappearance. The towpath, the footpath, the area where Nicola Bulley would start and end this walk is not covered by CCTV. Yet this hasn't been mentioned by the police. This hasn't been put out there in the media. It's not some big headline. It seems to be completely overlooked and overshadowed. And all these other CCTV cameras of the upper field and cameras here, cameras there, dash cam footage. Why are they not talking about the fact that they didn't see Nicola Bulley start this walk and they didn't see where she would have ended it? What do you think the police are going to do when they turn up there originally? There's a missing person. They get to the scene. There's a bench. There's a harness and a phone in the vicinity of that bench, and it's next to the river. The first thing that they're going to do is speak to her partner, Paul, and say, where was she heading? Which direction was she heading from? And where was she going after this walk? He would say, she dropped the kids off at school. She would have walked over the bridge, up the towpath, and the walk would have continued on from there. And on her way back, she would have followed the same route, as shown by her Strava account, by the previous walks that she has taken in that exact area. She would double back at the end of her walk and exit the same way that she enters. Yet it's never been made a big deal that there's no CCTV of it.
So she routinely walks that path. She routinely walks that path.
There's no CCTV of Nicola starting that walk. There's no CCTV of her ending the walk or where she would have exited from. And I cannot stress enough. I mean, how many times do I have to say this? It amounts. How can the police turn up on site there, on scene, and say, we don't believe that there's any criminal activity taking place here. We don't believe this is a criminal investigation. Well, how do you know that, though? What, just because there are a couple of items next to a river? Is that why you're making that assumption? Because you don't have anything, evidentially speaking, to suggest that this woman hasn't been abducted. You have.
So he's basically saying there's no CCTV of her getting there or leaving or even being there. So I'm wondering if the decoy is the people taking those items and leaving them there, since there is no CCTV at the bench. So instead, maybe the disappearance took place somewhere else, and those items were placed there to give the appearance that the disappearance took place at the bench and not somewhere previously where it did take place. That's very interesting. What's up, Caroline Ciano? How you doing? My pops used to say routine makes you a target. Well, here's the thing. There's no CCTV of her even being there, either getting there or leaving. So if there's no CCTV placing her there, and the only things placing her there are the items that were left there, then it makes you wonder, did somebody do something and then try to outsmart the cops with all this other stuff going on and go, you know what, I'm going to take these items and I'm going to go put them there So it looks like she disappeared from the bench, but really, I'm the one that did something the day before somewhere else. Wow. This is very creepy. I'm wondering, it's not just a decoy of like something happening at the bench and then leaving those items, but this is a way beyond decoy, where it could be the crime took place somewhere else. If it is a crime, the crime took place somewhere else, and they brought pieces that would be used as a, last seen, but she wasn't last seen there. There's no CCTV that shows she even existed in that location at that time or any time.
Haven't sealed off the scene. You've done some evidence gathering, I believe. You've done some evidence
a whole
gathering
new
at
level
the
of
bench.
decoy.
Well, what does that
Whoa,
mean? Picking up
that's
the lead and
crazy.
harness? Does that mean dusting for prints? Does that mean
Whoa.
sealing off the area? Because it doesn't, does it? They've immediately got there and thought, okay, this woman's fallen into the river. End of story. They came out straight away and said, this woman, we believe.
Maybe that's why there was no sign of any struggles, because there wasn't a struggle in that location. They just put those items there as a decoy.
Has fallen into the river. We're open.
That's why LE said, oh, there's no signs of a struggle. So she must have jumped in the river.
To other possibilities, but we don't believe that this is a criminal investigation. How could they have known that at that point in time when there's no CCTV showing her entering or exiting?
No
if they had a camera there
CCTV showing her
and she goes on the walk,
entering or
but then she
exiting.
doesn't come out again, yeah, fair enough. You would assume, okay, we can see her entering this walk, but we can't see her going out. That must mean that she hasn't come back from that
close
location.
score.
There's items here by the bench. She's probably fallen into the river. That would make...
And who says somebody didn't take it out? Who says somebody didn't take it out? Yeah, I should be having it up there. You know what? Let me put it on my TV real quick so I can catch it in my side eye. 1 second. I'll catch it in my side eye. All right, I just see a commercial right now. All right.
Complete sense to me. But the fact that they haven't seen her start or finish the walk, how can they make such a quick assumption without
jelly
any
beans.
physical evidence? It's also quite interesting when national newspapers use paragraphs such as this. The garage worker confirmed the security cameras are in working order and picked up vehicles travelling along the main road. One camera also covers the top of a country lane, close to where Nicola was last seen. Who gives a toss about those other cameras? Why is there so much focus on multiple cameras in the vicinity of where she walked, when actually no one is paying attention to the fact that there is no CCTV camera at the location where she starts and exits? I mean, why is that not even mentioned? Why are all these other CCTV cameras talked about? It's almost like it's overshadowing the fact that where she starts and exits the walk is not covered by CCTV. That's the most paramount and important point in this entire investigation. It should tell the police very early on that we cannot say for certain that Nicola hasn't been abducted because we don't have CCTV covering that particular area. But not a big deal of this has been made at all. There's so much discussion about other CCTV cameras which are on the top field, or cameras at this garage which might catch the top of a lane, which overlooks a field, which overlooks another field. Who cares about those cameras? Who cares about those cameras? The only camera that matters is one that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, that's close.
A camera that would have seen Nicola start and finish her walk. So now moving back to this particular article and these eyewitness accounts. I mean, is it any wonder that we are now hearing of suspicious individuals lurking around an area which is not covered by CCTV? Surprise, surprise. We now have two suspicious individuals who were seen right near that bridge, or at least one of them was seen right near the bridge, right near the start, right near the exit point of Nicola Bulley's walk. Is that a massive monumental surprise? No. So why wasn't that looked at? Why wasn't this looked into? Or at least, why weren't the police open to this particular possibility? I'm not saying they were completely closed off, but the impression that they've given to the public is that, okay, yes, we're open to suggestions, we're open to your information, but we do strongly believe that she's fallen into the river. You know, very, very, very odd. It's no surprise to me. It's absolutely no surprise to me that I woke up this morning, I checked the news, and we have, oh, look, here we go, surprise, surprise. There are suspicious individuals seen near that location where she would start and exit the wall. Exactly what I said yesterday. This area is the most important area, the most important place in the entire investigation.
Yep.
The place that is not covered by CCTV. My biggest fear in this entire case, as it stands at present, is that the police attended this scene, and bearing in mind, this is just my own personal opinion, this is just my own viewpoint on what's taken place here, and I may be wrong. It may well be that Nicola Bulley is found this coming week. Who knows? This is just my own viewpoint, as I say. My biggest fear is that the police have attended this location. They have seen the bench, they've seen these items, and immediately assumed that Nicola fell into the water. They've come out publicly and stated they do not believe that this is a crime scene. They do not believe that any criminal activity has taken place. They believe this is a tragic accident. This is straight after
touchdown.
this woman has gone missing. My problem with that is that at this point in time, they know that there's no CCTV covering that entrance and exit. They also know that they haven't got all of the information from the 700 drivers that are passing by that lane on the morning of her disappearance.
It is so suspicious.
So why come out with such statements such as, we don't believe that any crime has taken place here. We don't believe this is a crime scene. I mean, are you saying that because when you attended, you didn't secure the area?
Right.
Is that why you are saying that? Because that's the obvious question, isn't it? If
Just
they
like
said, we
Moscow.
are open to the possibility that Nicola has been abducted, and then a news reporter says, well, why didn't you seal the crime scene off then? You know, why is there no cordon? Why are you allowing members of the public to walk around this bench to tread on potential evidence?
Yep.
It's not going to go down particularly well, is it?
Nope.
And from there, we've had this constant, I guess, barrage of information that, you know, she's in the river. We believe she fell in. Tragically, we believe that Nicola fell into the river. Okay, she's not in the river. Oh, okay, she might be in the sea now.
Right.
Really? Really?
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It's so suspicious and it's just ridiculous. See you, Caroline. Thank you for hopping in. All right, we're going to go to another video here. Another similar case near PA. We talked about it earlier a little bit ago where there was, other similar cases, cold cases that PA is going to start looking into regarding the Koberger case. So that came across here. This is a channel we just started playing recently, True Crime Time. And we're going to check out their video about the trial heats up early. Here's what's going on and why. No touchdown after replay. Oh, okay.
Don't worry, you didn't miss day one of the trial, but the fight has definitely begun. What's going on right now is Brian Koberger and the defense are objecting to the request of Shannon Gray, Kaylee's family's
YouTube,
to lift the gag order. What this means is the defense prefers everything to be shut down and nobody to be allowed to discuss the case or dispel any rumors out there. In my recent video where I talked about Dylan and her actions after the night of the murders, I mentioned that I thought Kaylee's family would want the gag order lifted so that they could help dispel the rumors that were going around out there about Dylan. Now, the longer time goes on where people aren't able to talk about the case, the more of the discussion kind of builds around these different theories out there about what may have happened and why Dylan didn't call. what kind of connections there could be regarding drug sales and things like that. So the longer the gag order is in place, the longer these kind of things that could be flying around out there and start influencing people toward Brian's innocence in the case, where if the gag order is lifted, their attorneys can kind of make a statement for them and dispel or clarify anything that's going around, right? So it's in the benefit of Brian for the gag order to be in place so that kind of these things can continue to build and people kind of start leaning more toward him being innocent versus looking at the initial evidence that we have on his arrest at the beginning of the case. Right now, there's a lot of rumors out there going around about Dylan, and if we give that 2 more months, pretty soon she'll be the granddaughter of Tony Montana. But if the victim's attorneys have the opportunity to come out and say, hey, wait a minute, no, let's clarify what happened here, that would sway opinion toward the idea that Brian is guilty. So even though the trial hasn't technically started, they're already battling it out in the court. So this is something we'll have to keep an eye on. We'll have to see what happens, and if the gag order ends up getting lifted, what do these families have to say? Now, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. As I mentioned in my last video, I wanted to share with you a case that I came across that hasn't been solved yet, that isn't too far from Pennsylvania. Now, as you know, a lot of talk has been going around about law enforcement looking for some connections to Brian on any unsolved cases in Pennsylvania. But I was looking a little bit outside of that, and just about 10 hours away from where Brian would have lived is an unsolved crime that has a lot of similarities to some other cases that we haven't figured out yet, including the Juten case, the San Lad case, the Idaho 4 case, even some similarities to the Catherine Janis case. So this one's very interesting. I want to share that well, and then I want to hear what you think. Do you think this is a case that the same person who attacked the Idaho 4 or maybe some of these other victims could have also committed? And if not, then does that mean we have multiple people out there committing these crimes with this almost exact same MO? Sneaking in late at night while people are asleep,
maybe hiding
with a knife. Multiple reports of a masked man, stabs to the face, neck, head area. The crimes being described as very violent attacks, very angry or revenge-driven attacks. No robbery, no SA. Now, I don't know what is more scary, the idea that Brian Kohberger may be connected to some of these crimes, or the idea that we could have multiple people out there committing these crimes.
Right.
Please let me know what you think about that in the comments. So again, the things we're looking for to connect these cases are somebody attacking at night, sneaking into somebody's house, not being afraid of multiple people being in the house. There doesn't seem to be a focus on just females. It seems to
I
be
heard
we
that
have
too,
multiple
Coat.
cases here where there's also a male present who's also
I did hear that too. I think I have some videos about it too. Yeah. I heard about that, but I'm going to see where I got the info from before I do play it, though, or some. I think I do have something, though. I did hear about that for sure.
Whether that's unexpected or planned, we don't know, but it does appear that whoever's committing these crimes is brazen enough to enter a home while they know there are multiple people in the house and there's the chance of being encountered. So we're looking for very violent type attacks or very kind of angry or hate-filled attacks. There's a pattern with stabs to the face, head, and neck area. We don't know for sure yet about the Idaho 4. The unsolved case I'm going to share with you right now is interesting because based off what we know about Brian, there are some connections here, it appears, to the couple that was murdered in Oak Park, Illinois, Leslie Jones and Thomas Johnson.
A female, approximately 65. She was found on the ground bleeding.
The double murder on Fair Oaks Avenue is one of the most violent crimes Oak Park has ever seen. Tom Johnson and his wife, 67-year-old Leslie Jones, described as loving parents and brilliant Ivy League lawyers.
What?
They fell in love and they got married. And they had 3 boys.
Got a second one in the bed over here.
Last week, Oak Park police said their investigation of this brutal crime had not slowed in any way, but they've declined a request for an interview.
MBT5 Investigates has spent months reviewing the autopsy reports, looking at the legal work the couple was involved in, and talking with friends and family. And then we showed our reporting to a veteran homicide detective for analysis.
I don't think this was random because of the overkill.
Rich Shack retired after
What?
30 years.
I think that somebody planned and had something against them. If Mr. Johnson was a late night guy, people would know that. You'd look at lights, you'd case the place and determine when people would be in bed.
The couple was attacked apparently as they slept in their upstairs bedroom. Mr. Johnson found face down in bed, stabbed 17 times.
I'm looking for enemies. I'm looking for anybody that would want to do that much damage to someone.
Johnson's wife, Leslie Jones, was at the bottom of the stairs, dressed in her nightgown, apparently trying to escape. She was stabbed 34 times.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
anger and rage there, probably twice as much as there was with Mr. Johnson, but it shows that she might have put up a struggle of some sort, and whoever the killer was just went off and just kept stabbing and stabbing.
There was no sign of forced entry. We're told the couple often left their doors unlocked. Nothing appeared to be taken, but Mr. Johnson's wallet was on the floor, its contents scattered.
You could say, was the person looking for something specific in that wallet and found it or didn't find it? Or were they trying to make it look like it was some sort of robbery or home invasion thing that it wasn't?
The dog, known to bark, was wounded but not killed.
Nobody's mad at the dog. The dog was doing his job. And you stab the dog one time to silence the dog, and that mission is accomplished.
Footprints from the offender stepping in blood were visible in the residence.
They're not totally definitive. They certainly put you in the right direction.
Is it likely the killer left DNA at the scene?
When you see an attack that violent with a knife or any other sharp instrument, it's often very easy for the offender to be injured himself.
After eliminating friends and family, Shack says you'd run any unidentified DNA through all existing data banks of known offenders. He says investigators have undoubtedly looked for disgruntled legal clients. And at Johnson's job as a hearing officer for the Chicago Police Board, handling hundreds of complaints against cops since 1991.
Would you look at what cops might be angry over losing jobs and pensions?
Certainly you would look at that. Personally, don't think it was law enforcement.
Now, when I was looking at these cases early on, one thing that I had been thinking about was why would Brian target a male victim in some of these cases? But recently we learned that Brian had been fired from his job at WSU, and it appears that he had an encounter with a professor at the college.
Yeah, a couple times.
Now, it could have been because of Brian's actions towards maybe female students in the class. There's talk that Brian was grading them unfairly and treating them poorly, and that could have been escalated. Brian had a discussion, right? And then from there, Brian had this encounter with Dr. Snyder at WSU. But these are kind of the things that sent Brian into motion with getting fired from WSU, is some of these encounters that he was having with the professor. So it seems that Brian could have an issue with anybody as a victim, male or female, and not necessarily something that the victims did, but there could have been something in the perpetrator's life that happened that caused him to seek out a victim, and they just happened to be the targets that were chosen. If he were set off by something that happened in his personal life and was looking to lash out. Now, I was also wondering a little bit about what could
Well, they didn't
potentially
take that
cause
route.
Brian to cross paths with this couple, or if it was maybe just a random choosing. But when I looked,
No, they didn't even take that route. It was already established that they didn't take that route. So this part's not relevant to that. I'm going to stay on the Koberger, but I'm going to switch to Law and Crime Network, or Law and Crime, sorry. And this is Idaho student murder survivor thought killer was guest at loud party, source claims. What's up, Cassie? How you doing? We miss you too. We miss you and your mom. We hope everything's going
We have an
good.
update for you right now on the
We definitely miss you and your mom. We hope everything's going good. And we definitely think about you. Kelt said that she got your gift sent out. Aw, Well, spend it, spend it, spend it. I'm glad you got to have that quality time. Glad you got to have that quality time. Thank you for hopping in and saying hey. And let us know how the flights go and all that stuff on Discord, okay? One can mention what they heard and then we can talk it over. Aw, 3 years? Wow. Well, definitely glad you got to spend that time. And you know what? It's really cool that you guys get to spend time together on the show too, when you guys aren't in the same states. It's almost like being right next to them, 7 a.m. our time Tuesday. Yeah, prayers.
The murder of 4 University of Idaho students. A source has provided more information about why a roommate who allegedly saw the murderer didn't call 911 right away. The roommate, referred to as DM.
I'm getting better. I'm almost there. I'm not like 100%. I'm probably say I'm like 75%. I'm still feeling it a little bit. But I've been getting a lot of rest the last couple of days, so I know that's been helping. But yeah, I still need a good couple of nights of good sleep. It's still up here. My body, I have more energy now. My body's just aching, just probably from missing out on vitamins and stuff, but I'm getting there. I hope you guys have been doing okay. Definitely sound tired, but yes, I am. Hell, I didn't even wake up till like 1:30 today. And then I was running around doing stuff that I hadn't even done all weekend. Laundry, dishes, cleaning up, all sorts of good stuff. Stuff I needed to hurry up and get done. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad you get one more whole day. I'm glad you guys get to hang out. It's always tough being that far away from family.
In the probable cause affidavit, told the source that she thought noises she heard were from people in the house partying late into the night.
I thought that's been a topic for a long time, hasn't it? I thought this was something that was brought up like a month or longer ago. I could be mistaken, but I thought we've heard about this.
The house on King Road was known for having lots of people in
Yeah.
and out at all hours. 4 people were stabbed to death inside of that home in November, where 2 roommates actually survived. Now, DM, one of those roommates, told police that she opened her bedroom door.
Oh, it's all good. If you can't count, it's no biggie. I'm probably only going to be doing a show for another hour, a little over an hour, hour and 10 or something. And then I'll be back Tuesday. Get some rest, and I don't know. I need to like kind of go through some of the past episodes or something and make some short highlight videos or something. Definitely check out the latest one I made about that Ohio train derailment spill cleanup. That shit's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
And saw a man walking by her wearing all black and a mask. She told the source that she thought he must be a guest of one of the other roommates. He walked right past her, and she locked herself in a room. Now, no one called 911 until lunchtime the next day. Police ended up arresting Brian Koberger, a doctoral student at nearby Washington State University, more than a month after the murder, saying he was the man who committed the brutal stabbing.
Oh, nice.
DM's memory now seems to be a bit different from what she told investigators, because in her latest recollection, she wasn't
enjoy that
frightened by
time with the
random man in
family.
hallway.
Seriously.
But you know what?
That's the
Memory
most
can be a
important
tricky thing. So we spoke with an expert about how memories can change over time.
Well, don't need a PhD to know that as time passes, our memories begin to fade. They become weaker. But what's not so much a matter of common sense is that weakening memory that's fading with the passage of time becomes more and more vulnerable to potential contamination. And contamination can happen when you get sensitive information from other
Hey,
sources.
what's up, Ava?
If you're
Aw.
questioned in a biased or leading fashion, if you overhear other people talk
Probably.
about what happened, it can affect you. But we also can alter our own memories. That's called autosuggestion. We think
Appreciate
about
you
what
happening.
might have happened, what probably happened, what could have happened, and sometimes the could haves become what did.
And we've also learned that suspect Brian Koberger was experiencing some workplace drama around the time of the murders. He was apparently fired from his position as a teaching assistant at WSU. News Nation got a copy of the alleged termination letter, and Koberger was TA with the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology. The letter states that Koberger had an altercation with a professor in
Yes, big
September where
hugs.
he was put on an improvement plan, but evidently had another altercation with the same professor in December. Before Koberger went to Pennsylvania to stay with his parents for the Christmas holiday, he was informed about his termination. Experts told News Nation that problems of the job could have been triggering for him. So, Brian, lots to talk about here. The roommate's explanation of seeing who she believed to be Koberger and why she didn't call 911 right away. How does that affect the case?
So two things, Jesse. Even from her first kind of explanation as what happened, when she said she opened the door and saw the person pass by, she doesn't say how far she opens that door. I think, and I suspect it was just a crack. I think the defense can hop on that. But the second part is this whole memory issue. If her memory seems to be contaminated with her own thoughts or suggests a questioning and going back and forth like this, don't forget her memory connects us to the bushy eyebrows, connects us to where he stepped supposedly for that footprint, and also connects to his size. These are big parts of the affidavit that led to the arrest and could be big parts of this case that identifies Koberger as the suspect. If they can shake up, they being the defense, her memory of the events, detrimental for the prosecution's case.
Oh, I agree with you. But Terry, everyone's been looking for a motive about why he might have done this or allegedly done this. Problems at work,
Come on,
termination,
YouTube.
could that be a factor?
Absolutely. Listen, the murders occurred November 13th, and he really had the first altercation in September. And he was supposed to be on an improvement plan,
Oh my
and he
gosh.
failed that improvement plan. And ultimately, November
YouTube is
2nd was when
bugging.
he got that plan, and that was right before the murder. So I definitely think he was wondering whether or not he was going to be fired, and he was worried about his job. He was worried about the fact he may not
Now my
actually
camera
get
lost
his
connection?
PhD, and this
What?
could have been a triggering factor to the murder. Now, obviously,
What is
he
going
didn't get
on?
terminated till after the murders, but all of this must
My
have been going
camera
through his
lost
mind.
connection?
And I think it just escalated because he continued to have other altercations even after the murders.
Yeah, we have the how, we have the when, we have the where. It is the why that is that outstanding question.
Sorry. Crap, now it's gonna go buggy because I had to fix my camera. YouTube went buggy, then all of a sudden my camera lost connection. What is going on? Here, let me just switch to this so the sound doesn't get all crazy for you guys. Oh my gosh, what the heck? 1 second. This shit is so odd. Is it gonna work now? Man, what the heck? Okay, now we're gonna go to Court TV. I thought this was an interesting video that came across my subscription list. This is about all the people that Alec Murdaugh all the best evidence, sketchy at best. Yeah. Right. Do you guys think he knew he was going to be terminated? Well, he was already notified that when we went through it a couple of days ago, it said that in the timeline of the messages and when everything took place regarding his TA, he was notified. He was notified in their last meeting. He was notified, so I feel like he knew. He just probably wasn't I don't know, but he had to have. Ava, right? All right, this is about all the people Alec Murdaugh has crossed. Or betrayed. I thought this was an interesting video. So we'll go ahead and play this real quick, and then I'll scroll up and see what the next one is. We're kind of making a good chunk tonight. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Yeah, in the last meeting, the person he had the meeting with said that he notified him then. In their last meeting. Mm-hmm. Oh, is the game over? Oh, 27-21. Oh, come on. Come on, YouTube. We're doing it anyway. Screw it.
Law firm pretty close knit?
Come on.
Yeah, we're very close knit. A group of lawyers. I think we have a very family-like environment with our staff, as well as the lawyers are all very close.
With all of this tragedy and
my closed
support
captioning?
and the outpouring and everything going on,
This is
did
crazy.
you have any discussion about
I gotta mess with my
what to
camera
do
here.
about
Hold
the
on.
Ferris fees, or did there a discussion that this can't be the time to bring this up?
The only discussion that I recall was Alec told you they were in trust. Let's don't. There's no way we're going to talk about money in this. And we had no reason to not believe that. I wasn't aware of some of Jeannie's conversations. I was aware that Alec told her they were in trust. I trusted him, and I said, let's just leave it be.
That's Ronnie Crosby, Alec's former law partner. Now, what's really significant here, and if you go down to the Low Country, you gather this very quickly, but you especially get it just by watching this trial, which is the nature of the way people socialize. And you do business with someone, but they're your friend or they're connected to you somehow. It's a very small community. And when people are out engaging in business, oh yeah, I know him and I'm your friend. And there's this sense of trust, because if you're doing business with your friends, right, especially a small community like this, like your word is your bond, you trust one another, and you don't double cross each other. You just don't do that. And it was like that at the law firm. Every law firm partner, we're like family. We're not just business partners, then no, we're like family. They do things together. Same thing with clients. And I mean, that's just the way it is. So Alec Murdaugh, in betraying all these people, has turned into a really important theme in this case. And I think a part of the strength of the prosecution's case, because the people in that jury box are from there and they understand the nature of the way people interact and trust each other. And, you go down to the corner store, you're not just buying it from some store, you're buying it from your friend. And he betrayed that trust. Take a listen.
It looks like, according to your testimony, that this misconduct has been going on since as early as 2011?
Unfortunately, when we found that out.
Right. So some 10 years before the murders of Maggie and Paul, correct?
That's correct. He managed to fool a lot of people, myself included.
Understand. And you have the right to be very hurt and angry about that. And are you hurt and angry about that?
Oh, yes. I take it very personally. It haunts me that I that this happened.
You feel like it happened on your watch, and
I don't think anybody'd feel normal feeling like that. It's a big betrayal betrayal of trust.
Did you really know Alec Murdoch?
I don't think I ever really knew.
When it came time to disperse the checks, and I was calling him and the other lawyer to let them know that I'd have the checks ready, I guess around March 10th, Alec told me that he was going to put the monies into an annuity, that he was going to put his fees in an annuity. He called it a structure, but in essence, he explained he was going to put those monies into an annuity, and that the checks needed to be made payable directly to him instead of to his firm. So he told me he had already cleared it with the partners in his firm. I mean, he was a partner himself with the authority to do things for the firm, but he told me he had already cleared it.
Did you believe the defendant when he told you
Wow.
this thing?
Yes, sir. I didn't have any reason not to.
Those are the two people you guys brought up a lot last week.
Did you trust him?
I did. I'm with a group of guys. I get a phone call from Lee Cope. I tell Lee that I can't really talk much because I'm in the middle of a crowd. He says Alec's stealing money, that we found out Alec's stealing money from the firm and from clients, and he's going to resign from the firm.
Did this shock you to hear this?
Yes, sir.
Is that something you expected to hear about your friend, the defendant?
Not at all. I mean, I didn't expect that to be the purpose of Lee's phone call to me when I took it.
How are you feeling?
Shocked, betrayed, mad. I mean, I don't know, numb.
Where'd your mom pass?
In the hospital.
Did something happen to her?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened to her.
She had a trip and fall
Where did that occur?
at Moselle in Colleton County.
Okay. Was she working for the Murdoch family?
She was.
And what did she do for them?
She was their housekeeper, babysat for them, and anything else they needed.
And what was that conversation you had with the defendant at the funeral or thereabouts?
If I remember correctly, I'm gonna kind of take care of you boys and kind of, you know.
Did he say anything about how much money you may receive?
The goal was to get me and my brother Brian at least $100,000 apiece.
Did you view the defendant as your lawyer?
Yes.
Did you go and meet with him about it?
Yes.
At any time over the years, did he ever tell you that there had already been a recovery in the case?
No.
At any time over the years, did he mention anything about having a $5 million umbrella policy?
No.
At any time, did he ever pay you one penny?
No.
When the defendant came to you around the time of your mom's funeral and said he was going to help you and file a claim on your behalf, why did you agree to that?
Because I trusted him.
Because you trusted
Broken
him.
trust, betrayal.
Yep.
Let's bring back in our guests.
Why
Chanley
wouldn't
Painter,
you know,
Matt
when you're in
Harris,
that
Dr. Carol
position?
Lieberman. Chanley, you've been down there longer than I have, but it just seems like everyone is connected. Everyone knows each other. You go down here, oh yeah, I know him. Nature of this community in the Low Country where this trial is. These counties are connected to each other and the people are connected to each other.
Yeah, I mean, it really is the story of small town America. I'm from Arkansas. It's the same type of feel that you just know everyone. And even in this case, his paralegal somehow related to the Mallory Beach family that Alec was being sued by. So it's that small of a town. And, you know, speaking to those that live here, I mean, everyone knows the Murdoch name, everyone knows the family, and they say about that. But you can really feel that in the courtroom, too, that the extent of the betrayal to those that he held closest.
Right.
I mean, you can really see today, especially during Tony Satterfield's testimony, the disgust on the jurors' faces has been inherent when they're talking about $5-6 million
Right.
that he stole. You could see that. At one point, Chris Wilson, I just want to mention, I noticed this for the first time today. Chris Wilson's was direct, cross, redirect, and we thought we were going to have a recross, and Jim Griffin, who was crossing him, Vinny, this was personal, it was emotional. Alec crying, Chris crying. Jim Griffin turned to Alec, and Alec said no more. I could see that, and he didn't ask him any further questions. I thought that was interesting.
You know, Matt, the feeling that I get is we take care of our own. You don't. This poor kid lost his mother and his brother, and you're supposed to take care of him, and you didn't. Your law partners, they trust you innately. The families, they do things together. They don't just go to work and then don't see each other. I mean, Chris Wilson, he's doing business with him. He talks to him twice a day. He's betraying all these people.
Yeah, and you nailed it in the earlier segment when you were talking about this. And I said this on this show a few weeks ago that the money will not be the important thing. How much money he stole, yeah, that's insane. That kind of money, those jurors will never understand. I'll never understand. But what they will understand is screwing over your buddies, screwing over your brother, taken from people who don't know any better about the legal world, taking advantage of a woman who basically raised your kids and taking advantage of her kids. That resonates. Not they stole $6 million. It's the complete betrayal of these people who you were supposed to be helping.
So, Dr. Carol Lieberman, how much of a leap is it for someone who would betray his best friend, his clients, his law partners, all of whom are his friends, from that level of betrayal to the ultimate betrayal, which is to take the life of your own flesh and blood, take the life of the mother of your children?
Well, there does seem like something is missing in him. The empathy, the connection, to be able to do all of these other betrayals. You know, he's rationalizing, or he's in denial, or however he is doing that. Yes, you can make a connection between that and then his betrayal of his son and his wife. You know, what that strikes me, a lot of the people, Chris and the woman, Shelley Smith, and some other people who have talked about his betrayal, or they testified about various things. They cried about him. You know, they would say that, but he's a good man. You know, like Shelley Smith didn't want to tell what she had to tell. You know, what she knew about him. And so even though he betrayed them, they still have this sense that they want to believe that he's a good guy.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you so much for joining us and your insight tonight. We appreciate it. Matt and Chandler are staying with us. When we come back, we're going to continue.
All right. Now I'm going to switch to Crime Talk. Scott Reich. We're going to go back to the Kohberger subject. We haven't watched some Crime Talk for a while. And yeah, I feel you, Caroline. I don't think any of them were, you know. That's why they still want to believe he's a good guy.
All right. Now, we knew this was going to happen. It was only a matter of when. But yes, meet this woman, Brittany Highslope. Well, apparently she has written a series of Facebook posts professing her love for the accused murder of the 4 college classmates. She is gushing that Kohberger is the perfect man in her life. In one post, Highslope said, "My love interest is named Brian and is accused of murder, and I just wish to connect with him above anyone else." She states in her post that one way to describe her feelings for him over the last week or so is kind of like being lovesick. Now, Highslope started posting her passionate letters to Kohberger on January 4th, just a few days after he had at his parents' home in Pennsylvania for the murders. The single Kentucky mom, who had a 16-year-old son, pointed out that she and Kohberger shared some things in common, such as their astrological signs, both apparently Scorpios. She also claimed they've had similar birth charts, making Kohberger her divine masculine. Chavez, Madison Mogan, Zaina Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. He's denied any wrongdoing. The matter is set for a preliminary hearing on June 26. So, what does that mean? I don't know. I just do not get it.
Oh, for
I
real?
understand it's a very low standard for dating these days. But when you're looking at spending the rest of your life in prison and possibly death, I just don't see how that would be a great match made in heaven.
Right. So he's switching platforms, huh? That's interesting. Yeah, let me know when you find out. I like some Scott Reich. I hope he stays on YouTube. All right, the next channel I'm going to check out is Mind Shock. We just started watching this channel recently. Interesting videos. Now, this video is about looking over the JonBenet Ramsey case has been coming up in the news again lately. And I thought this might be interesting. Another look at the ransom note. And I'm trying to mess with my camera here.
In the summer of 2001, the JonBenet Ramsey 5-year anniversary was quickly approaching. An arrest had not been made, and at that time, I was convinced that Patsy Ramsey had committed this crime. I had based my opinion on basically what I saw in the media and the scant few pieces of evidence that I saw on TV. I just figured the ransom note was written in the home, JonBenet was killed in the home, and the body was found in the home. Patsy Ramsey did not look too believable on TV. It was Christmas night. Who kills on Christmas night is what I asked myself. Shouldn't they be home with their family? I could not believe that an arrest had not been made yet. That was when I decided to set out to see if I just may be wrong about Patsy Ramsey. And I quickly found out that I was dead wrong about Patsy Ramsey. I can only describe it as heaven sent. God, my interest in solving crimes, and the internet is how I was able to solve this crime. One day, when I was at work, on lunch of course, I decided to pull up the ransom note on the internet and see if I could see anything in it that would not only eliminate Patsy Ramsey, but women altogether. I was looking for a man word if there is any such thing. I just knew that I would know it when I saw it. I put myself in Patsy Ramsey's shoes and pretended that I was her writing this note after allegedly killing my daughter. I decided to pull the top of the screen down towards the bottom of the screen in order to only expose about one line at a time of the ransom note. I wanted to concentrate one line at a time. It took me literally 5 minutes to see what I was looking for and more. And here's the line, and I have to admit that it was a minor clue at the time. Make sure you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. I found the use of the word bring in that sentence unusual, because if I were Patsy Ramsey and I was writing the note, I surely would have used the word take instead of bring. For at least two reasons. The first being you would want to portray yourself as being on the outside looking in on the crime. If you give away your position by saying bring, and letting everyone know that you'll be waiting for John when he gets to the bank, it can make it easier for you to get caught. Secondly, the ransom note is written in the house, meaning the attaché is most likely in the house somewhere close by. Even more reason to use the word take instead of bring. This author is comfortable using the word bring. I thought to myself, maybe a banker wrote the note since he will already be there. And that is when I decided to read the ransom notes again, as if I were a disgruntled banker friend of John's writing them. And that is when I began to see many clues that pointed directly to a banker friend being involved. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. I guess they don't like $50 bills? The author of the ransom note begins the most important part of the ransom note, which is the body, by saying you will withdraw $118,000 from your account. Classic banker lingo. I mean, that's actually an interesting point. Withdraw instead of get 118 or withdraw, specifically withdraw. That's interesting. That is interesting. Classic banker lingo. He goes on to use the words bills twice. Says remaining. Notice that the author uses a decimal point when writing the amount of $118,000 and 0 cents. If one is thinking in terms of hundreds of thousands of dollars, why use a decimal which represents cents? That's another interesting point. A banker uses decimal points in his everyday life, and why does the money have to come from John's account? That's another interesting point. Yeah, who cares where they get the money? Huh. This statement tells us something about the author, and that is he has an interest in John's bank account. Why can't John get the money from his safe or from a friend? Why does it specifically have to come from John's account? Is it because he wanted to be in control of the transaction to ensure that John was following the instructions to a T? That's what I thought. More evidence of a banker friend. And then these lines. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money. The author now tells us something else about himself. He now tells us that he will know if John gets the money early, because he says, if we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier pickup of your daughter. So that's an important clue, because again, he says that if he monitors John getting the money early, he will know when to call him early. He doesn't want to call John too soon before John gets the money and have to keep calling him back. He wants it to run smoothly. I also figured at the time that the only person who could truly monitor the transaction and know if John really got the money early would have to be inside the bank in the middle of the transaction. Because even if you are the killer and you know what bank John will go to and go into the bank, you won't necessarily know if John actually got the money. He may have run into some difficulties in obtaining it at the time. That's curious. I haven't actually really heard anybody dissect this part of the note before. It is curious. Then there were other words in the ransom note that showed me that this was personal. The purpose of this note being written was more than just about a ransom. The money was definitely the secondary motive at the least. And the author tells something else about himself in this following paragraph. He tells us that he is angry at John about something. Because in the beginning of the ransom note, the author begins calm, cool, and collected. He began by calling John Ramsey Mr. Ramsey, trying to give the impression that they were not familiar with each other personally. Then by the end of the note, after all of his anger and emotions have come out, he is so angry that it makes him come out of character and show everyone, especially John, that yes, this is personal. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. So at this point, I was sure a banker friend had written the ransom note and most likely killed John Bonet. I just needed to find out his name.
Up again. Whoa, what happened to this video? It just stopped. What the hell is going on? My gosh. I just wanted to go over that again. I thought that was interesting since the case is coming back up about evidence that would have exonerated the family back then. I know I got a video in here somewhere. I'm not sure if we'll get to it, but that's the latest news that's came out about that. And I thought, you know what, it's an interesting channel. Why not take another look and see what somebody else wants to do with the review of that. It is very interesting how it starts off Mr. Ramsey and ends with John, though. All right, I'm going to switch to this topic. Lindsay Clancy. This is an Inside Edition video from a couple days ago that says Lindsay Clancy wasn't herself when she allegedly killed her 3 kids, mom says. And I say, no shit. I don't know what's up with my camera. It keeps disconnecting for some reason.
She never indicated that she was hallucinating. delusional or had disordered thoughts or speech.
Definitely a danger to herself.
Massachusetts mom Lindsay Clancy allegedly killed her 3 young kids. Now, moms around the country who have experienced postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis are sharing their stories.
When you're in psychosis, you're not there. It's not her.
Christina Beetham was overjoyed when her daughter Mia was born.
I just thought I was like so happy. I was like on cloud 9.
But postpartum symptoms also began to appear.
While I was in the hospital, like I was laying there and I distinctly remember a little shadow moving by the bathroom and it freaked me out. There would be like birds that would fly to the window and I would like swear that it's like an ancestor that passed away, like a grandma. Which at first it was very comforting. And it wasn't till night when like I started getting scared that I'm like something might be wrong. I'm like, why won't she leave me alone?
About 1 or 2 mothers out of 1,000 will experience postpartum psychosis.
Basically, it's a psychotic episode, which means the individual may have hallucinations, delusions. They're really obviously not thinking straight and getting disconnected from reality.
Christina's friend and husband brought her to a psychiatric hospital as an involuntary patient, but she didn't realize anything was wrong until days into her stay.
I was like screaming and crying. I did not want to go. Didn't want to be away from my baby. I was very fighting it because when you're in psychosis, you're like, what's wrong with you? Like, why can't you just be happy for me? But looking back, it really was what they said, postpartum psychosis.
Dr. Pagato explains that hormone changes and life changes may cause postpartum symptoms.
There's a lot going on hormonally after childbirth. Now, there's also a lot going on in your life after childbirth, and any mom knows this. So what we also may have going on is sleep deprivation, a lot of changes physically in mom's body, a lot of worries, a lot of anxieties. Now there's this baby that we have to take good care of.
After giving birth to her daughter, Dr. Pagato experienced postpartum depression firsthand.
I should be happy, and why do I feel this way? Why aren't I more excited? Why do I feel like I want to run away from all of this?
Like Christina, Dr. Pagato was not aware something was wrong until later.
I've experienced depression before. It felt very different. When you're in the middle of it, it's hard to see. And like I'm a psychologist, I should be able to see.
Even though her symptoms subsided on their own, Dr. Pagato warns that postpartum depression and psychosis can be life-threatening if left untreated.
It can get quite severe where a person may actually experience suicidal ideation or, actually make an attempt to suicide. When you're delusional, you may think, for example, that somebody is going to kill you if you don't do something. You'll hear voices that are telling you things. You're really not of your right mind. And that needs to be treated.
Those were the symptoms Lindsay's attorney says she experienced.
When the delusional or the psychotic episode passes, people will resume their right mind and actually sometimes be very, very shocked at what they've done.
Lindsay has been charged with the murder and strangulation of her 3 kids. Her lawyer says she intends to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. She currently remains hospitalized with round-the-clock care.
Interesting. And whoever it is, Caroline, I don't care who it is. I'm more worried about bringing these things down in a different way. And it's somebody. Just who knows? But we need to find a different way to bring them things down. It's one thing to shoot one down, and I totally agree with it. But when there's multiple things, we need to figure out a different way, because we don't know what's on these things. We don't know what it's going to do. Like, we got to figure out a different way. Some way to neutralize these things, whether it's in the air. You can't just shoot it and let it crash. There's got to be some other ways where these things can be neutralized up in the atmosphere. It can be brought up to a level where it doesn't affect the general population and then destroyed something. Something's got to be figured out. I don't care who's doing it. All right, we're going to switch to the next video. A couple News Nation videos. Somebody brought up the News Nation arrest, the reporter. I think it was Melmac earlier. So this is a video that came out a couple days ago. We're just doing some catch up tonight, and I'll be ending it here in about a half hour. This is the timeline of the new News Nation reporter arrest, and this is from Banfield. Shit snacks, miss. Do I have any ideas who it could be? I mean, I think it's the obvious. Who wants... I mean, when you go back to press... This has been in some of my early shows. You go back to the press conferences from 2 or 3 years ago about who wants to dominate the planet, and I think it's pretty obvious. And you associate that with their surveillance desires, technology, and practices, and these kind of go hand in hand. I think we all have an idea, but like Caroline said, proof. And that's right, all suspects. This is speculation, baby.
Also, super important to let you know that what we're editing together for you, we have matched up to the second. So it is a perfect match of what Evan is doing live on television at the time that something's happening off camera and he's being told, wrap it up. There's a news conference. Okay, so without further ado, let me show you what that looks like. Take a look.
Nicole, obviously that is the big question here, and it's being addressed right now by Governor Mike DeWine, who just stepped up to the podium behind me. I did hear him say just minutes ago, good news for residents, but I cannot hear him at the moment. So we don't know exactly what that good news is going to be, but I can tell you this is a question that people have been wondering for days now, since Friday, essentially, when many people
I don't think... Yeah, I think he's too busy, and they're so strapped for cash. I think it's somebody who's really not busy at all. Somebody that... Go back to the Pelosi visit. Go back to what took place during that Pelosi visit. Go back to a lot of our visits to that area and region and what's taken place and what's came out over the airwaves. You can go back through the articles and even the videos the last few years. They may... Nobody is claiming it right now what these things are, but you can go back to past videos and news clips, and they're not even shy about it. That they're up front. They're up front about what they want to do. They're up front, and I'll just say it starts with a C. They're up front.
Evacuated. Some people had to be out since Saturday, and hundreds of people are living in this 1 mile evacuation zone, and they've been waiting for days now for this news.
Oh, come on, YouTube.
After all this
Why is it doing
happened,
this?
the derailment unfolded. Originally on Friday night, there was a controlled release of these chemicals as well. And we're actually being told right now that we need to stop broadcasting because this news conference is behind us and we're in the command center.
I'll just put it this way. I agree with what these generals are saying, who they feel it is. I'll agree with our military leaders on who they feel who it is. I'll just put it that way.
So as we all listen back there and I listen here, you'll learn the latest. Nicole?
All right, Evan, we know that you're keeping an eye on all of that. We'll check back in with you later. Thank you, Evan. Up next,
So this is what's happening
Cool, it's working
exactly
now.
as they just went off camera. Instantly, this is exactly the same continuation of the timeline. I don't know if you noticed it, but the woman in the Stetson there gave the sort of the cut to the neck to say, wrap it up. And Evan simultaneously said, we're being told to wrap it up. And then this ensued right after. So you're seeing the exact timeline of just how quickly he was, told he had to leave the auditorium right after he instantly complied with the order to wrap up this report. And within just, I think it wasn't even a minute, he had the...
I can't, Kelt. My camera keeps disconnecting now for some reason. So I don't know. Maybe I have to restart my computer. It did it in the last show. It did it one time. And then I was able to reconnect it and it worked the rest of the show. But tonight, for some reason, it just keeps disconnecting. I'm not sure why, so I'm not sure.
The physical push on his chest from Major General John C. Harris of the Ohio National Guard. Okay, so today, the East Palestine Police Department released a statement outlining their version of the events, and it's pretty long, but for the sake of absolute fairness, I want to read all of it for you. So bear with me as we'll continue watching the body cam together. On February 8th, 2023, Detective Howder was present with other law enforcement officers at a press conference being held by the governor of Ohio and other public safety officials at the elementary school gym. This press conference was being held to inform residents of East Palestine of the safety plan for returning to their homes post-evacuation. Evan Lambert McMichael was reporting live from the rear of the gymnasium while the press conference was being conducted at the front of the gymnasium. Lambert McMichael's live reporting was loud, and two state highway patrol troopers, along with Adjutant Major General Harris from the National Guard, went back and advised them to stop their live reporting in an effort to ensure that all members of the media were getting the necessary safety information. An argument then ensued between the general and Lambert McMichael, which was now disrupting the press conference. The general informed officers that Lambert McMichael was coming at him in an aggressive manner. General Harris, feeling threatened, pushed Lambert McMichael away. Sheriff Brian McLaughlin, Chief Deputy Jen Tucker, and Lieutenant Caleb Wyckoff, along with Detective Howder, then went back and advised Lambert McMichael that he needed to leave the gymnasium because at that point in time, the situation evolved into a physical confrontation and required law enforcement intervention. The East Palestine Police Department and the Columbiana County Sheriff's Department only responded to that area of the gymnasium because the situation between Lambert McMichael and the Adjutant General had escalated. Lambert McMichael advised the officers that he was not leaving and was again advised by all three officers to leave the gymnasium. In an effort to de-escalate the situation, Lambert McMichael was asked to step outside and talk with an Ohio State Highway patroller. Trooper Detective Howder also asked Lambert McMichael to step outside and talk, yet Lambert McMichael refused. The East Palestine School District Building and Transportation Supervisor advised Lambert McMichael to leave the building, and again, Lambert McMichael refused. With all reasonable means to de-escalate exhausted, Detective Howder and Chief Deputy Tucker attempted to escort Lambert McMichael from the building so the press conference and safety plan announced could continue without delay. Again, this is the statement from the police about what you're seeing on the body cam. Lambert McMichael was advised he was being arrested.
Good evening.
And while escorting Lambert McMichael out, he attempted to pull away and was then placed under arrest for criminal trespassing, at which time he resisted
Caroline,
arrest.
I don't know enough yet
During the
either.
struggle, Lambert McMichael was taken to the ground by Detective Howder and Chief Deputy Tucker in an effort to maintain control of Lambert McMichael
Let's talk more
while
about
preventing
it on
injury to the
Tuesday.
involved parties. While on the ground, Lambert McMichael was not listening to the officers and was attempting to get up. Lambert McMichael eventually complied with the officers, stopped resisting arrest, and was transported to the county jail by the county sheriff's office. There will be no further comment from the East Palestine Police Department regarding this incident as we assist our residents and our community
poor
through
community.
post-evacuation process.
That poor community.
Our dispatch center is inundated with calls for service and will have no additional media information. We ask that you allow our dispatchers and first responders to assist our residents through the re-entry and air monitoring process. And it is signed Chief of Police, Lieutenant Colonel, I think, Brown III, Chief of Police. So that is how they saw things. You can see for yourself on what's happening on the camera. Thank you for watching. Go to
And I'm going to go ahead and throw this link up in the channel so you can have this as well, the timeline from Banfield. I'm also going to throw the link to my latest highlight about the cleanup of that. The information that we go through, I think needs to be shared, because a lot of these community members and people that are affected, even with the Google map that I showed earlier in this show, of all of these people that can be affected. Just, you saw these fish dying the next day in the Ohio River, which is how far away? I mean, you're talking, when you're looking at the map, Ohio River's right here, and East Palestine's here. And the next day, fish were popping up dead all over this stream. Here's the link to that News Nation video we just watched of the timeline of the arrest. We can go through that more on Tuesday when I come back. Now, Kel, you brought up, I think it was you that brought up about the roommate yelled at roommates to quiet down. Has anybody heard more about this whole sourcing crap with Banfield? What's going on with that? I love Banfield. I don't know what's going on. I've been sleeping a ton, just trying to get better, and I haven't been paying attention to it. Good night, Kib Kitty. I appreciate for hanging out. Did anybody win yet? No, I think it's still going on. But somebody had brought this up earlier in chat, and I'm going to go ahead and play this video too. It's from Banfield about the roommate. I know somebody was talking about it earlier.
And let me tell you, it certainly does give a little bit more perspective as to why she didn't call 911 right away, perhaps. We're told that Dylan actually mistook the noises that she'd been hearing. Remember, the affidavit said that around 4 a.m., she could hear some noises up on the third floor, thought it was maybe, Kaylee playing with the dog, Murphy, didn't think a lot more than that. But ultimately, a few moments later, she heard a lot of noises. She opened her door and effectively kind of yelled out to her roommates, calm down, like cut it out, keep it down. You guys are being loud. I'm trying to sleep. It's late. Thinking that there were roommates horsing around, that perhaps all that noise that she was hearing was just them, being boisterous and still in party mode. It was late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. So she then closed her door and went back to bed, but within minutes, perhaps sort of roused again by noise, opens the door again, was going to say something again to the effect of, keep it down already. It's the middle of the night. And that's when she sees the figure coming towards her. Now, this has been a big bone of contention for a lot of people. Why, if you saw some shadowy, terrifying figure walking towards you, would you just close your door and go back to bed and not call the police? And the characterization to the source who spoke directly with her after the murders is that she didn't think that figure was anything other than just part of the horsing around. Maybe one of the partiers, maybe somebody who was a friend of one of the other roommates that was making all the noise. But it,
and who knows?
Startled her nonetheless to see a man in the middle of the night, dark,
Who
walking towards her.
knows?
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News
That was
Nation.
a quick video there. All right, we're going to switch to another one. This is Crime Online with Nancy Grace. This is just a short video too. She brings up Murdaugh car movements poke holes in alibi? ? Then we're going to get to one more video up here about authorities search unsolved cases for links to Idaho murder suspect. That's from a local TV station, KTVB. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and be ending the evening for tonight. I appreciate you guys hanging out during the Super Bowl, even though the Super Bowl's going on. It's a hell of a lot more people in here tonight than what I thought there would be. So I just want to thank you. I'm going to have tomorrow night off. I'm going to get some rest up. And then we'll be back Tuesday night to start covering everything that's came out over the last couple days. So please continue to send your links, evilcj@gmail.com, evilcj on Twitter, or evilcj number 2540 on Discord. And we'll go ahead and go through all those on Tuesday night. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, It's all interesting when it comes to the timing, you know? Yay for you being off. It's why I didn't do a show this morning, you know, late morning, early afternoon. It's because I just needed to get some rest. I just wanted to get some rest. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, and it's of course, Ava, there's a possibility of a BS source. Yeah, that's for sure. It's something to discuss. It's something to think about, but unless it comes from Ellie, which it won't because of a gag order, unless it comes from somebody personally where they have firsthand, you know, we have to take this all with a grain of salt. It's all speculation. But that's the beautiful thing about our channels. We can just discuss things and, you know, we're about common sense. That's what we're about. All right, I'm going to go to this Crime Online with Nancy Grace real quick, and then we're going to switch to this local TV video, and then I'm going to go ahead and end the night. Thank you guys so much. Damn, close score, 35-35 with 30 seconds to go.
Joshua, this is a defense lawyer's worst nightmare because Alex Murdaugh has given this alibi that he wasn't there at the scene of the double murders. And here you've got somebody like Brian Darr saying, well, he cranked up his car at 9:06.50. There was an engine running event. Translation, he turned his car on. What do you do with that as a defense lawyer, Joshua?
Well, jurors love this type of stuff. You're absolutely right. It begins to recreate the crime for them. It begins to become alive for them, what took place that evening, and minute by minute. It's pretty incredible how they can get it down to the exact minute and second of what he was doing and when, and start to reconstruct this. And you're absolutely right. If that cuts against his alibi, they got big problems. But the thing I'll point out is what you've noticed and what I notice is I think I understand this stuff pretty well, but I'm still a little lost and I'm a little bit confused, and confusion plays right into the defense hand. And if they can cause some confusion in the jurors' minds that they don't quite understand what this evidence is telling them, is he turning on his car? Is he moving his car? What does that mean to have his engine turn on? If that causes any kind of doubt enough that it rises to the level that they don't know what to believe, that could play into the defense hand.
I don't like anything that you're saying, Ritter, but you're right. Because if all of us let's see, you've got, look, on our panel right now, you've got a doctor, a medical examiner. You've got Ann Emerson, a reporter. You've got Mike King, a police commander. You've got Joshua Ritter. If all of us don't quite know what was said on the stand, the jury's not going to get it either.
Oh, I didn't pause it in time. Dang, it's going to throw me to the top. Yes, peaceful rest, everybody. Oh, no. Oh, come on.
Joshua, this is a defense lawyer's worst nightmare because Alex Murdaugh has given this alibi
Oh, my Lord.
that he wasn't
I'm just surprised this stuff hasn't been fixed.
there at the scene of the double murder.
Oh, it threw me to the top. I'm just surprised this stuff has not been fixed. This has been a while now. Let me see. Where was that video? Yeah, we're like way ahead. We need 3 days ago. Yes, restful night to everybody. All right, 3 days ago. Let's see here. Yeah, there's some other videos. Ooh, I almost got through them all. Here's the wife of public defender. She speaks out. You know what? We already did watch a video about the local PA looking at other cold cases in the beginning of the show. I think we need to talk about Elliot Blair again. This is a video. We'll get to Anna Walsh on Tuesday. Some Let me see here. I think we need to watch this real quick. Because I'm glad I came across this on accident. Because I was wondering where this video was at. And I definitely want to hear what this wife says. And I definitely feel like we need to play this one. So this will be the last video for the night. Thank you guys so much. I'm glad I found this video. And the Chiefs win 38-35.
Our exclusive interview with the wife of a California attorney who died while vacationing in Mexico, sharing new details about what happened that night and why she thinks he was killed. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, has the story. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Robin. Kim Williams and Elliot Blair were both lawyers at the public defender's office in Orange County, California. They had it all planned out. They had bought a house. They were planning on having 2 kids. And they went to a resort in Mexico to celebrate their 1-year anniversary when Elliot suffered a mysterious death. Now, Mexican authorities ultimately concluded that this was an accident, but Kim and her attorney now insist that Elliot was murdered. We have to warn you that some of the images you're about to
I don't know, Caroline, about the fat lady singing, because if you go through what we went over a few days ago, they were actually shaken down by the local Mexican police for $160, which is all they had in their pocket, because they rolled through a stop sign, supposedly. And that wasn't the last suspicious activity that took place that night. So I think it's a little deeper than her. I don't even think she had anything to do with it, in my opinion. And I think it goes to the level of corruption that takes place down there with the LE. And I personally wouldn't go down there right now. I wouldn't feel safe. That's for damn sure, especially with all these other cases that have taken place down there and the suspicious activity that does take place. When it comes to the LE, I mean, look up Shanquella Robinson and how the LE's been acting about that one. It just, it's a level of corruption that, you know, there's nothing anybody can do. It's just, you just don't go.
to see are graphic.
I wouldn't feel safe.
He was my rock, my everything.
This morning, the wife of California public defender Elliot Blair breaking her silence about the mystery surrounding her husband's death in a Mexican resort last month.
I still can't go in a bed. I sleep on the couch because the last time I was in bed, I was woken up to find my husband dead.
I feel
Elliot
sorry
and
for
his
her.
wife, Kimberly Williams, were celebrating their one-year wedding anniversary at Rosarito's Las Rocas resort.
I feel sorry for that
Elliot
lady.
was found dead in the middle of the night.
When police arrived, did you ask what happened? Did they tell you what happened?
Accident, suicide, gunshot wound. It was a roller coaster.
Suicide.
Right.
Suicide. It's just, I mean,
Gunshot wound.
everything under the sun.
Oh,
for
Caroline, sorry.
What I think happened. Someone did this to him.
Local authorities later concluding that Elliot drunkenly fell from the resort's low balcony seen in these
Yes,
photos.
it's very sad.
But his wife, Kim,
That
believes
poor
something
lady.
much more sinister happened. That last day together, she says they woke up
Wow.
late, got massages, had a margarita by the beach while watching the sunset.
Aw.
Just remember him telling me how beautiful I looked that
Aw.
night.
They then grabbed dinner at a local restaurant
Oh, look
and
at that.
finally
That
went to
looks yummy.
dance. This is the last video Kim has of Elliot. But on their way back to the resort,
Oh,
Kim
wow.
says they were pulled over by the Rosarito Beach police who claimed they rolled through a stop sign.
Elliot has always told me when we go down there to kind of not engage. He'll handle whatever needs to be said with them.
Kim says the cops asked them for money.
Elliot had told him, we don't have the amount of cash that you want. And then the other officer came up and started talking to us, where are you staying? And Elliot told him that we were staying at Las Rocas, that we were down here for vacation.
She says they kept asking for money.
Elliot kind of stood his ground, showed him his work badge, and said, look, we're attorneys. We're not down here to mess around, but we're also not going to be taken advantage.
Uh-oh.
Did you not have the cash that they wanted?
We didn't have the amount they wanted.
Between the two of them, Kim says they emptied their wallets and paid the officers $160 before being let go.
We were both rattled, but at the same time, we both had this feeling of, thank God they didn't do anything more to us.
They drove back to Las Rocas and hung out at the lobby bar before heading back to their room.
I put on my pajamas, turned the TV on, and I got in bed, and he went to take a shower, and I fell asleep.
Aww.
What's the next thing you remember?
Wow.
2 people in my room waking me up, a security guard and the hotel manager in my room. And they're saying, "Excuse me, miss, excuse me, excuse me. Is this your boyfriend down here?" I ran out the front door, and they're pointing over the side of our front door area to the ground. That was my Elliot down there.
Aww.
I just was yelling at them to call an ambulance, call an ambulance, call an ambulance. They said an ambulance came an hour ago.
What?
The family lawyer tells us Elliot viewed a video on Instagram.
The ambulance came an hour ago?
At 12:35 a.m. and then just 15 minutes later, according to 911 calls obtained by ABC News, at 12:50 a.m., the resort called to report a person who apparently suffered a fall. 20 minutes later, paramedics arriving on the scene, concluding that Elliot Blair had no vital signs. 2 days later, the Attorney General of Baja California stating that the amount of alcohol found in Blair's body was considerable.
How many drinks do you think that Elliot had that night?
5 or 6 drinks. 11:30 would have been the last drink at the
Wow.
hotel, which was a margarita. In my 9 years of being with him and knowing him, I can tell you I've never seen him sloppy. I've not seen him not be able to walk and care for himself.
The family believes these photos of
gosh.
Elliot's injuries to his arms and legs, which they requested be shared, tell a story that isn't a
They
drunken
requested
fall.
to be
They
shared.
consulted by
So I just want to let everybody know the family has requested these to be shared.
biomechanics expert Dr. Rami Hashish.
There's bruising marks on the body. There's indications of potential being dragged on the front of the
Wow.
body. There's fractures to the back of the skull. Nothing really points to the fact that it was necessarily an accident.
Their lawyer pushing for answers.
Kim and her family need answers to bring closure to this so they can really start moving on from it.
And Kim determined to honor Elliot's memory.
Why did you decide to do this interview now?
I want the world to know who my R. Elliot is. I want to make sure he's remembered.
It was brave of her to speak with us. Now, ABC News consulted 2 independent forensics pathologists to review that autopsy. They came to different conclusions. A Mexican pathologist said that the injuries in those images appeared consistent with a fall. An American pathologist looked at the same images and said that looks like a homicide. Now, the family has commissioned its own autopsy. They say the results should be ready in about 5 or 6 weeks. Guys.
They're desperately
It's such a strange
It's
story.
very strange.
Yeah.
They deserve answers. They
very
deserve
sad
answers,
as
the
well.
family.
Wow, that's so sad. I'm glad I came across that. I think Tuesday night we're going to go through that video again to start the show off. Especially if the family wants that out there, I think we need to start the show off on Tuesday with that video again. I might even put up a little short too, just to kind of do whatever I can do. That's right, Caroline. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, especially on Super Bowl Sunday. I appreciate you, your conversation, and your company. I'm going to have tomorrow night off, but I'll be back Tuesday night. And like I said, go ahead and keep sending those links. And do me a favor, if you haven't already, please check this out. Share it with people. The information needs to be out there. Especially in the very beginning, I go over the cleanup and it just doesn't make no damn sense. So please leave a comment as well. I'll see you guys Tuesday night. I hope you have a peaceful and positive evening. And we'll have an open panel on Tuesday night. I encourage anybody to hop up there with me. Let's chat. Let's go over this stuff over the last couple of days. Good night, everybody.
you